Welcome to Optional Dialogue, episode 86. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and I'm joined by James, Dory, and Mitch. So when this episode goes up, it will be October 1st. So happy Halloween. This is now officially Spooky Month, or as we call it, Spoopy Month. So before we get into all the gaming topics, I want to talk about Halloween. What is your plan for October? Like, what shows and games and movies do you plan on playing and watching for October?
Oh,
Have you guys thought about that or no?
Yeah.
in all honesty, Dory, go first. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'm probably most equipped to go first on this one because I literally do have a list. As we all know, I love October, Halloween, fall, etc., etc. Kim and I watch 15 horror movies in 1 month, which is going to be challenging this month for specific reasons, like we're getting married.
Sephiroth movies, music starts playing.
But yeah. We're gonna watch 15 movies, most of which are underrated or terrible sequels to other Halloween movies or horror movies. And then I'm also gonna play some spooky games. I've got The Evil Within 1 and 2 on Game Pass, and I've got, I can't remember what it's called, but the game that's kind of like Before Dawn.
Until Dawn?
Until Dawn, rather. I knew I was messing up the title.
Oh yeah,
that's the best one.
The Quarry,
the newer one. I can't remember what it's called.
The Quarry.
The Quarry, yes. I was like the Creek.
Yeah, nice.
Anyway,
nice.
I have that on my PS5 somewhere, so I wanna play it.
Yeah.
Been meaning to for a year, but I always want to do it during Spoopy Month. So, those are some of the things that I'm planning on.
So that's why they put the Callisto Protocol on PS Plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's Halloween month.
Yes. Actually, I didn't even put that together. Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Not just because they needed an even shittier game to follow up Saints Row with. That's why. I like Callisto Protocol, by the way.
I'd say, I mean, for free, I would say it's good enough. For free, that's a phenomenal steal.
Yeah.
It's a steal.
It's not for $60.
100%.
Yeah.
I've never been happier to have not paid money for something.
Man, you know what's sad?
Just don't buy the DLC. Don't buy the DLC.
Games that may or may not be worth it at an incredible discount, and games that Mitch actually defends and likes. The Avengers is on sale on Steam for like 90% before it gets delisted, and I still won't buy it.
To be fair, by the time this goes up, or even the time this finishes, it's probably already been delisted.
Oh yeah, probably.
I mean, like in my time, yeah, it's been delisted. It's delisted now. if it went by my clock, the delisted protocol.
Mitch, what are you doing for Spoopy Month? You got any plans? Any ideas?
I haven't got any concrete plans. I know I definitely want to rewatch the Marvel Werewolf by Night special. Like I feel like that's going to just become like a Spoopy Month mainstay.
It was really good.
Aren't they releasing that in color?
I don't know if I want to check it out in color, because like the whole appeal of it, at least to me, was the fact that it's in black and white.
Yeah.
So that they like got to have like some damn good like color grading to actually, because like the whole, like they have this whole thing at the ending where it's like, color starts to come in, and there's like, and you've got like Somewhere Over the Rainbow playing and all that. Like that's the whole point of the movie. I don't know why they re-released it. Anyways, yeah, I love that movie. I think it's like peak MCU, and I'm hoping it still holds up. Main thing, I mean, in terms of games, I don't really have anything concrete planned.
Me too.
That's true. But yeah, like really for the most part, it's just kind of continuing to play Cyberpunk and a few other games I have in my backlog. In terms of, I mean, in terms of like, the less gaming and movie side though, in terms of books, I just picked up this like a few days ago, finally. Like I know how like it ends and everything, but I picked up like the first omnibus volume for Attack on Titan, which is it's a thick boy. So I'm excited to actually start reading it.
Does that end where it ends? Like, is that the entire
No. This is this
Oh.
is
That's
up
usually what omnibuses
to-
are front or for.
There's 12 volumes of omnibuses. It only has
Oh,
the
fuck
first
me.
3 volumes.
Good
Yeah,
lord.
it's still this thick.
Man,
And
I'm,
it all ends with the glorious message of keep outsiders out of our nation state, because that's a good thing to
That's
do.
it. That's it. From what I can tell, it ends at episode 13 or 12, 13-ish. Like
Yeah,
the
13
midway
Reasons
point of
Why,
the
I get
first
it.
season. It's just after they discover a certain thing about Aaron and they do a bit of testing. I'll say that.
I mean, the rumbling's legit scary. So that's
my
a
favorite.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's my favorite
Yeah.
2000s rom-com. There's something about Aaron. Favorite one.
There's I also plan on finishing Uzumaki by Junji Ito because
Oh, there you go. There's some spoopy stuff.
Some properly spoopy stuff because I read a few more chapters of this a few weeks ago, and I'm generally fine with body horror. It's something I like in a fucked up kind of way. But I could only read a few chapters of this before I'm I have to put it down because this is what is it? I don't know if any of you guys have read
Possessor?
it, but the snail,
Possessor is so
the
good.
snail chapter. No, I haven't. Is it a movie or?
Yeah, it's a movie. It's by Cronenberg's son.
Oh, okay, okay.
David
Yeah.
Cronenberg.
Super good.
I might have to check it out.
Not
I
like
don't
a
know.
couple years ago. But I really like it.
But I don't know if any of you guys have read it, but I forget which chapter it is, but the snail chapter, if that means anything to anyone, fucked me up big time. So yeah, that's probably the most immediately spooky thing I'll be doing. But yeah, really a lot of it will just be kind of catching up on things, and then Alan Wake 2 before everything's said and done. Speaking of which, before I move on, has anyone seen? I posted it in the Draft Punks Discord. Has anyone seen what the death screen animation for at least Alan Wake will be?
I didn't look at it because I didn't want to get spoiled on it, but you did say it was very spooky.
Think the quick editing of Saw, the Saw movies when they're showing all the traps off. But then mixed with some Twin Peaks, just literally seeing a person with their brains blown out and stuff, and it's the actual live action actor that they have doing it.
My god.
Creepy as fuck, yeah.
Nice.
Anyways.
Good stuff.
James, you have anything before I go? Because I know you're Scrooge when it comes to Halloween.
Oh,
so.
you guys know I hate Halloween. So yeah. But speaking of Possessor, did any of you guys see Infinity Pool? Came out this year.
No, I've heard of it.
I've heard good things. I haven't checked it out though.
I really like that film. I think it's brilliant.
Nice.
So that's one to watch, especially for the Halloween month, because it's a horror film. So check it out.
Nice.
But no, other than that, no, not for me.
All right, so Halloween is my favorite time of the year, as they say in Halloween Town. Halloween is cool. As soon as midnight strikes in about 5 hours on the dot, I will have the Halloween theme song as my ringtone. I go full on Halloween now at this point. Yeah, I don't have a lot of games to play for this month. I mean, obviously this month is so loaded for games. Obviously, Lords of the Fallen, Alan Wake, Spider-Man, Mario. Not a lot of horror games because they took Alone in the Dark away. That got delayed to next year. So that's
right. That's right.
And Silent. Yeah.
That's a legendary Silent Hill shirt.
I would Silent Hill 2 this month would have been perfect. I wouldn't have cared if it was a loaded month.
When is that due? Next year, right? Or
we don't know.
After?
We don't
know.
know.
The remake?
Probably next year.
I'm assuming next year. Next year.
If it's not coming out next year, I'll start getting a little concerned. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
That trailer looked really done.
Hopefully we don't get KOTOR.
Well, they kept going on about how it's closer than we think.
Well, the gameplay got leaked a little bit. We saw snippets.
A couple of screenshots and a half second of him
dodging
around. So
which is already a big upgrade over the first game. If you played the original, it doesn't hold up well gameplay wise. I mean, it's a masterpiece. Like, it's the best horror game of all time, but the gameplay is not. It's very 2001.
No, Kombat is think like Resident Evil, but like somehow even less interesting.
It's mostly because it has melee combat. Resident Evil doesn't have that, and then it's like you bang on the monsters with like a piece of wood for like 20 minutes, and they still don't die.
Yeah,
and it's really easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't have a lot of like games to play. Like I usually do the typical what I always do every Halloween or October is I watch all the Halloween movies. I watch at least 2 Jason movies, and I usually watch Nightmare on Elm Street, like the original, and that's it. I don't care for the other ones as much. And I always watch Monster Madness by Angry Video Game Nerd, but the new ones suck compared to the old ones, but I still like to watch the old ones. I love going through all the old classic movies. I'm excited to see the fall of House Usher.
Yes.
I'm definitely gonna watch that.
Is that coming out this month?
Yeah.
The 12th.
I'm really sad because I feel like Usher had like a really promising like music career, and like it just really like fell off. So
Yeah,
I don't know why Mike Flanagan's directing it, but whatever.
It's funny you say that because he's hosting the Super Bowl, but so
yeah, no, I know he is.
Mike Flanagan.
I love Mike Flanagan. The Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor. I love both those, and I love Doctor Sleep. So I still need to see the one he came out with a year or 2 ago.
Midnight Mass was so good.
Yeah, Midnight Mass. I still need to see that with Kim. And
that was legendary. I'm not a religious person, but that show was phenomenal.
I heard such good things about that. He's so talented. I'm super excited he's coming out with a new series.
He's the horror producer right now.
He really is.
And director.
I just remembered as well. Sorry, is anyone going to check out the new Saw movie at all?
Mm-hmm.
I am tempted. I don't know how.
Got good reviews. Best reviews ever.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
I'm so surprised. I thought
87%.
Yeah,
certified fresh. Oh wow, shit. Okay.
It's like 90% for audience score or something like that. That is wild for a Saw series. Yeah. I'm like low key like obsessed with the lore of Saw more than I am with like the death traps. Because there's just so many stupid twists and turns throughout the whole series, and it's so convoluted. This like explains my love of Kingdom Hearts, right? Everything comes back to Kingdom Hearts for me, of course. But like, it's so convoluted, so overly complicated, so filled with like pointless flashbacks that I'm like, no, but I love this lore though. I don't know about reverse bear traps, but I fucking love this lore.
And by the way, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 are great Halloween games.
That's true.
Just for Halloween too.
Yeah, they got the Halloween world. So.
Yeah.
I need to. That's something I do want to play. At least the first Saw video game. The second one, everything I've seen from it is terrible.
I don't think I ever played that one.
There are so many good ways that sentence could have gone.
I don't think I ever played that game before. Like, I know of it. I just never played it.
I watched the Completionist and one of his friends play the Saw one for a Let's Play, and it was so fucking funny because it's so fucking bad.
I do want to play A Devil in Me because that's the only one I haven't played yet. So
it's the worst one.
Yeah, but I always see it on sale, so I feel like I might as well get it for like whatever it is, $20. So
on sale, or like when it comes to like PS Plus, like the essential, like the premium tier, whatever the middle one is.
Yeah.
Definitely worth it then. But like, I mean, let's put it this way: I'm kind of just salty because I beat the game. I left it for like months, and then like 6 months later I came back to do like the final hour of the game, and I did a lot of like really good choices. Like I got a lot of people out alive, and then the trophy didn't even pop for like saying that I completed the game.
I hate that so much.
So it's just like, oh well, I'm not gonna. I don't want to replay that final bit again. I will say though. There's a YouTube channel, I forget who, but like they do like a bunch of deep dives into like the lore and like background stuff for like the Dark Pictures games, and they have, and apparently there's like in the fandom at least, there's like this well-known, if not outright, like this confirmed theory or like sort of hidden detail about the game where like there's actually, this isn't a major spoiler, but like there's actually 2 killers instead of it just being the one.
Yeah.
and then it's like they go through all the evidence and I'm like, oh fuck, of course. And it's like,
yeah.
there's effort put into that at least, but like actual polish and
Yeah.
gameplay.
I just don't like the twist. Every twist they've had, I've just felt disappointed with the ending, especially Man of Medan and Little Hope, especially Little Hope. Little Hope's ending was just stupid to me.
I found, I know Little Hope was like super, I want to say controversial, but like, yeah, like most people disliked it.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. Like, it's dumb. Obviously, it's dumb, but like, I didn't mind it just because of, I think like I played it like, because I played it so soon after beating Man of Medan for the first time, and I absolutely hated that experience. I think the reason why I liked Little Hope so much is just because of, like, just in spite of Man of Medan.
Yeah.
Man of Medan, however you pronounce it. It's like, Man of Medan was bad, but this is good.
Yeah.
Man of Medan, more like Man of Madam, your game sucks. Hey. By the way, speaking of games that suck, well, it doesn't suck, but it's not very good. I did play Ghostwire Tokyo recently.
Yeah, I heard.
Spoopy game. I did not care for it. Yeah. Mitch
I managed to convince you to beat the last hour.
You were like my part-time therapist through like the last hour of it.
I thought it was good. Like, I hate my problem was the trophies and the side quests were really boring. I thought there was way too many collectibles. I mean, way too many collectibles. Yeah. I played that game for 40 hours, and 35 hours of that game was me collecting souls. Because it only took me 5 hours to beat this campaign.
Well, I'll tell you,
they put a limit on it.
The soul out of me, because I don't rage quit at games very much. Hell, I even finished Child of the Tomb Raider and Uncharted 3. But like, I couldn't. Like, one of the reasons I didn't like the game is like, they have the trope of you losing your powers and like making you appreciate the powers that you normally have. Which, by the way, by hour 9 or 10, I was kind of like,
they pull a Metroid on you.
Yeah, they pull a Metroid like 3 times, and at the third time, I was
Metroid.
Like, nah, fuck this. Yeah, so Metroid, but they Metroid you, and then they undo it, and then they Metroid you again, and then they undo it. I'm like, can you pick a fucking side?
Wait till Metroid Prime 4.
Isn't there like an entire enemy type that like can like Metroid you essentially?
Yes, but that doesn't matter because you can that's such a pointless mechanic because you can get KK back immediately, so it doesn't even fucking matter. Because after they separate you, the prompt comes up and they're just standing there like a moron, and so you just press X and then you just get KK back.
I really like the gameplay, especially with the DualSense. Like, I like when it was vibrating every time you did like a hand signal. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I did like it. I think if it was, well, I liked it in the first, I don't know, 6 hours. I think if it had been half as long as it was, I would have liked it a lot more. I would have thought it was like okay to good.
Which is funny you say that because the game's still incredibly short as it is. Because like even you were surprised when it's like, and like I was surprised and you were surprised as well when it's like, oh, like I'm at this point in the game now and it's like I'm getting so bored, and I'm like, yeah, you're like an hour from the finish.
I really was too. I had to literally do like 1 or 2 quests and then I was done. And I knew vaguely that I was close, but I had no idea how close I was. Like, all right, I'll just go through it. I don't know. I found the plot very disinteresting, and I do love the aesthetic. The aesthetic is my favorite thing about Ghostwire. I love the aesthetic. I love the idea of the game. I think it's awesome that this game exists because more creative and interesting games like this should exist. It's based on like really cool like Japanese mythology, especially I think Buddhist mythology. I think that's awesome. But the game just didn't. I think the game was like over bloated, and for me, like if it had been like a 5 to 6 hour game, maybe if I had just skipped a lot of the side quests, I would have liked it more. But I did like want to dabble because I love my favorite. This is so weird, but my favorite thing in Ghostwire Tokyo is such a niche thing. But when you go to the phone to input the souls and stuff, the tactile sounds that when he goes like this with the phone and then it opens up and then like placing the phone, I don't know why, but like it's like chef's kiss
satisfying.
For me. Like, it's such a satisfying soundscape. The soundtrack, by the way, is very good as well. So I don't hate the game. I just wish it was shorter, and then I would like it more. But yeah,
interesting question actually. Did you play it in Japanese or English dub?
I did play it in Japanese.
Interesting.
same.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I almost always play
I-
Japanese stuff
I-
in Japanese, not because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, dubs are always better than dubs, but just because I like respecting like the original vision and like
Yeah.
that's just what I prefer, and I don't mind subtitles. It helps
Yeah.
me focus.
Was there even
So,
an option
I
option for
flip flops
English?
between
There
them.
was, yeah. I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah. There's English voice acting. Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
They-
I think it was
it
default
starts-
Japanese, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It does default
yeah.
to Japanese, but you can switch it. I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I played like right when
I
it first
jumped
came
between
out.
them.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hop between them in early chapters. I think I mean, English voice acting's alright. Like, I remember KK's English voice actor being, like, probably the only memorable or, like, good
Yeah.
voice actor out of the lot.
Yeah, the voice acting is decent. It's nothing to write
Yeah.
home about, but it's certainly fine. I just feel like the story
Yeah.
about your kidnapped sister is so played out, and
Yeah.
I won't give spoilers away, but I found the ending very dissatisfying, and the final boss fight was also ridiculously easy, which was weird because I had tougher fights before the final boss. So I don't know.
Yeah, oh, the one
I'd
the
also,
one that you have to,
but I
like,
mean, full
hide
transparency,
from,
I'd be bitching if it was really tough too. So I don't
Yeah, I
know.
remember
By
the
that
game
point,
being
the
easy.
game has just been poisoned for me.
I remember being very easy, but I'm going off like 2 years ago
Yeah.
or whatever it was. All right, you guys ready to move on?
Yeah. Let's move on.
Yeah.
All right. So, two big things happened this week, or last 2 weeks, really. We'll start with Jim Ryan retiring. That's obviously monumentalist
James-
news.
James is just cheering.
James is already like, "Let's go!"
All right.
I'll let James
All right,
start.
Let's preamble this before James goes off and saying that James has a couple here and there. So we apologize in advance for any Jim Ryan fans out there.
Ah.
Sorry, Jim.
No,
But,
Yeah.
What's that Ted Lasso meme that's going around at the moment? It's like, you do whatever you want. Live.
Before we get very negative, because obviously we have had issues with him. I want to say he has contributed a lot to Sony because he's been there for 30 years. So I want to say I want to give him his flowers in terms of I didn't like him as the CEO and like the face of PlayStation this generation, but he's had a huge impact on my life in terms of just his impact on PlayStation since day one. But I just wanted to say that before we get all celebratory and negative.
I do want to say my biggest negative about Jim Ryan is very simple. The man has 2 first names, and I can't abide by that. All right, that's all I got.
He is not allowed to exist or live.
He's got Jim and he's got Ryan. Dude, pick one.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Look,
That's my
here's
lame
my-
joke.
my
I really
thing
have
is that-
nothing. I don't really care about Jim Ryan one way or the other, so I'm not going to be very active in this chat. But y'all really go at Jim Ryan. I don't care. He's a millionaire, so fuck him up. I don't care.
Look, here's my thing. And I'm
Okay.
gonna get up on my soapbox here, for a second. I agree. Jim Ryan has done a lot for Sony, but more specifically, I think Jim Ryan has done a lot for shareholders of Sony. He's done more for Sony shareholders than he's done for Sony's customers. I think it's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has raised the prices of video games. I mean, he's probably the most responsible person for that. Because I think so. I mean, if I remember correctly, PlayStation was kind of leading the charge on the kind of increase in price. No backwards compatibility for PS3 games, like not being a focus.
And not only that, he made comments about that, saying it looks like ancient and
Exactly.
no one's gonna buy that. Which he's not totally wrong that most people don't care about backwards compatibility, but you can't say that out, like openly in PR. Like that's just a bad move.
Yeah, no.
exactly.
But like, yeah, it feels like a lot of decisions that have been made since he's been CEO have been based on kind of keeping PlayStation number one and okay, let's make 20 more Horizon games, let's make 20 more God of War games. Like not a lot of focus on being creative.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of he's the thing is, right, he's been great for making Sony and PlayStation a profitable company, but a lot of those things run counter to what the people who actually play PlayStation games want, I think.
No,
Certainly in my case. Anyway.
No, you're right. I mean, from a casual standpoint, because none of us are casuals, we're all hardcore people that follow every gaming news that happens. But for the casuals, they're happy. They don't even notice. They don't even know who Jim Ryan is, probably. But for us, especially me, speaking from experience, I'm a hardcore PlayStation fan. Obviously, I'm a premium subscriber, or I was. We have lost the community. We don't get the PlayStation experiences anymore. We don't get the live stros. We don't get the live orchestras. We don't get the same hype. The Twitter page is very corporate. Their PR is horrendous. Now you can argue, well, they have the games, they have the sales, so who gives a shit? And that is true. But from an optics standpoint, he was the worst. Like, just PR, he was terrible.
Yeah.
His relationship with the fans was just terrible. Now, on the hand of Phil Spencer, like, I don't need the CEO to be my best friend. Like, Phil Spencer's his job is to sell you Xboxes and Game Pass. I don't get into he's your best friend trope that people get into, but
I agree.
But I still need that community, which we don't have on PlayStation. Right. Everything's so corporate. Like, it feels like. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I don't mean to cut in, but like
you're right.
But I guess I do mean to cut in.
Yeah.
But in a nice way. But yeah, I mean, the thing with the whole Phil Spencer Jim Ryan thing is and I agree with you. I don't need Jim Ryan to be my best mate.
Yeah.
What I would like and what I think would be beneficial to a video game company would be if the CEO was somebody who actually played video games.
Like Sean Layden.
Right, exactly. Somebody who has perspective.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is important because Sean Layden was great for PlayStation. I love that era of PlayStation. I think that was great. You know, they did a lot of really good things, like bringing Crash Bandicoot back with Activision and stuff. A lot of good stuff there, and you just don't get that kind of thing with Jim Ryan, which is why I'm celebrating, and why I kind of hope that whoever takes over that position is more like Sean Layden, Andrew House.
Well, we know.
So,
I'm gonna butcher his name, but Hiroki Tataki. I think it's Tataki. He's gonna be the interim CEO. So, I don't know.
So is he?
I don't know.
Because
Go ahead.
Sorry, I've heard conflicting things about this. Because like one second I heard that he was like sort of stepping down effective immediately, and then like I've also heard other things saying that he's like stepping down.
Yeah,
of next year.
Yeah, it's not till next year.
Oh yeah, like I heard that it wasn't until next year, but I wasn't sure when. When
I believe it's May.
March.
Yeah, Sony. Stepping down in March. I mean, okay. At least he's got his foot out. At least he's got his foot out the door, I suppose. Then I would have preferred it to be sooner rather than later to kind of stop the spread of anything else bad happening. But
April 1st.
Okay, so be it.
April 1st is when the CEO takes over, the new one.
Which is so funny to me. I immediately thought, wow, they have the opportunity. Sony has the opportunity to do the funniest fucking thing on April 1st.
Well, technically,
Jim Ryan I was gonna say Jim Ryan steps down 31st of March, and then 1st of April, Jim steps in.
Let's go. Extra bushy mustache.
That's it. I was gonna say mustache.
The new guy.
Go ahead. They should get the guy who runs the Kaz Hirai. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. The fake Twitter account.
Yeah.
You know the one?
Yep. I missed that.
Yeah, they should get that. They should get that guy to actually come in as CEO.
Just to be clear, the new guy becomes the chairman next month, October. So he's not the CEO, but he becomes like the chairman. Like, so Jim Ryan basically leaves next month. He doesn't. Right. He's still officially the CEO until like next year, but officially,
but it's
the
not
other
like
guy's
he's actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like he's actually like still there making decisions.
Yeah, he's not making decisions. Although you gotta wonder though how much power he had, Jim Ryan, because like was it him making these decisions, or was it, like the shareholders and the people at the real top like making these anti?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
That's true, but then
know.
These kind of decisions weren't being made before he was in charge. So
no, I'm with you.
You have to kind of put two and two together.
It's sure, but we don't know either. Like maybe Sony management changed or had a different mindset under a different person. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe. But the point is, he was the face of it, basically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do miss old Sony from like PS4 era, where PS3 era was very mixed. I like Sony when they're losing, in the fact that they're going crazy with like indie games and trying new things.
Yeah.
But at the other hand, PS3 era was a bit of a mess, and even the first half of the PS4 era was kind of a mess because they had no games for like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So what we really mean is like 2016 to like 2019 Sony. Those 3 years was magical.
Well, I mean,
Um,
even like 2020, like up until
Yeah,
the
well,
PS5,
that's when-
launch, that was like
Yeah.
that's when we had Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima, and I think no, Concrete Genie
And
was
Miles
2019.
Morales.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Dude,
exactly.
I really
and
like
Demon
Concrete
Souls.
Genie. I'm so sad they shut. I know I've already said this before, but they shuttered that studio, and it was such a cool game.
I mean, the year Jim Ryan took over was 2020, and I believe, and that year was like,
2019,
was it
actually,
2019?
yeah.
But 2020, like when
Yeah,
PS5
right.
launched, that year it was the PS5 launch. You had The Last of Us Part 2. You had Ghost of
That is such a
Tsushima.
cursed
You
year
had
to
Miles
launch.
Morales. You had the Demon Souls remake. You had Sackboy, Big Adventure. Like that year was just absolutely
Yeah.
loaded for first party. Like it was
Yeah.
insane.
It was, but you can't. I don't know.
You
Maybe I
can't
sound
credit
biased.
Jim for it because Sean, it was already in development for years.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
exactly.
You can't,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
People.
people.
That stuff was already in the pipe.
That's people's argument as well, in that like Jim Ryan, obviously under him, PlayStation's been like outselling PS4. Like PS5 is outselling the PS4 at this point.
This is
but,
the thing, right?
But people argue that he inherited that.
I hate people like I hate console war rubbish in general.
Yeah.
But what I
Yeah.
hate specifically is people using sales figures
Mhm.
as an argument for which
Yeah.
console's better or whose management is better.
Mhm.
Like sales figures mean absolutely nothing to us as consumers. You know what we should care about is the product.
I
So,
agree.
like using numbers to make.
I will-
arguments, it just-
I will say it's not totally accurate, because I do see numbers do affect us in the sense that, like, because PlayStation, if you're more of a PlayStation fan, because PlayStation has the bigger market share, it's easier to have to make deals that's cheaper than Microsoft does. So PlayStation is more likely to get the exclusive deals and exclusive like marketing. So even though that doesn't
Yeah,
affect
no, no.
us, like in terms of the profit, we get like the
That's-
benefit of the deals and shit like that. So,
Yeah, that is true.
but you're
but
right. But you're generally right. I agree.
Yeah,
with you.
no, people get like really
Oh, I agree.
kind of what's the like
Obsessed with numbers.
Whenever someone,
yeah.
or that I feel like a lot of the time, whenever someone uses like just numbers and figures to kind of like prove their point, it's probably just because they feel like they're backed into a corner and they just like want some form of tangible evidence to like support like a subjective
Yeah.
fact in their mind.
Yeah.
And they're just like really insecure about it, and it's
Sure.
like they're like, oh, but look at the sales figures, right? That must mean something. It's like,
Sure.
yeah.
Well, and I mean, like
But again,
this is a big
console
thing in
was
corporate
dumb.
speak too, where it's like more generally, it's an issue of like, you know, especially in the video games industry right now, where we're seeing a lot of like unprecedented success for a lot of games, especially this year with huge releases, millions of units sold. The companies are raking in record profits or lots of money at the very least. CEOs could afford to take some pay cuts, but of course, what do? Instead, they fire people and rob people of their livelihood instead. So it's like, you know, reducing people to numbers is almost never a good sign of good management. You know, it doesn't really excuse poor
Yeah.
customer practices, which Sony has been doing.
Yeah, why you bring that up? This year is obviously legendary for video games, but this has been
Yeah.
awful. I mean, awful,
It's been a
awful
terrible
year
year
for
yeah,
developers
industry.
and the
Yep.
industry in terms of like
Yeah.
firings and Unity
and
and all that stuff. So.
The thing is as well is that like, say this was last year, I'd be like able to point towards like, say maybe, you know, just like some industry long COVID, I guess you could call it, where it's like because of you know, obviously all the delays and all the setbacks that came from working with home, and obviously, you know, like sort of, I'm assuming at least some smaller companies were having sort of money woes and issues and all that, and basically like instead of everything coming out in 2020 2021, like it got pushed through to 2022, even this year.
Yeah.
Like essentially, like, yeah, if it came out last year, I could say, like, I could point towards COVID and the whole pandemic itself
Yeah, but that's
being a contributing factor to like the woes. But it's like it's 2023 now, and like a lot of the issues as well. Like we were just like, you know, last night for me, we were talking about the Immortals of Avium devs and like how they had like a good chunk of their staff laid off, and that had nothing to do with the pandemic. It's just because, you know, like they made a game, it didn't sell well, so the company decided to
even
go
when
boot.
games do sell well, like Mediatonic just lost a lot of its employees. Like it hasn't been shuttered or anything like that. Some people were reporting that it had been shuttered, but a lot of the employees, and they did Fall Guys. Fall Guys was so popular and sold so well.
Shit,
and
that's
did so
good.
well.
Yeah,
wow,
and that had nothing to do with them. That's just because they're owned by Epic, and Epic
Oh,
spent
I know,
too much
I know.
on Star Wars collaborations for Fortnite.
Yeah.
my question. My question overall is like, how like, because sometimes a lot of things feel big. Like they are very important and very big. Like in general, I'm not saying they're not, but like a lot of it's like social media like focused. Like, you know what I mean? People notice these things in social media. My question is like, is the video game industry heading for like a crash or a big protest or people unionize, or are we heading for a strike?
Unionizing, I could see at this point. I mean, I heard that a lot of the voice actors are going towards unionization, which I think
they got approved. They got approved for a strike, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. And also, like, the strike, one of the main strikes, not all of the main strikes, just so people know, but like one of the writer's strike is over. I don't think all of the strikes are over, but one of the main
are still going.
is over. So, and they got everything they wanted, which is great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I think it's like, at least for the writers, like, I think their initial plans, or like what they were asking for, was like going to cost the studio $496 billion, and then in the end they ended up getting like 283 or something. Like obviously they were highballing it to start with, but it's like, I mean, I'm not sure how like you know, corporate speak, like how that whole negotiation tactics work to the fullest extent, obviously, but like like regardless though, like if the writers and all that are happy, like especially like in not just wages and stuff, but like AI, apparently that I was surprised at how well that ended up being, all things considered.
I mean, for sure. I don't think there's gonna be a crash, but like I don't think it's impossible either.
Crash, no.
I think what's happening right now is that a lot of these companies are over their budgets are absurd for these games, and they're spending way too much money on absurd open world, millions of dialogue, and I feel like at some point something major could happen, like with the industry, where that affects things.
It does kind of feel like we're heading towards a crash.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like at this point the industry is too big to fail.
I agree with you.
When other crashes have happened, it's the video games have been nowhere near as big as they are now.
Oh,
so like we're at the point now where video games are as big or bigger than other forms of entertainment.
It's self-sustaining.
Well, it hasn't crashed since '83 anyway, so and that was a different time.
The one interesting thing I can foresee happening is if we do reach maybe not a crash, but like a breaking point or like a tipping point, when like your big AAA games start selling really poorly, and then like, you know, like it's really just like a lot of the indies that are like actually doing well. It's like basically like we'll get to like a breaking point or like crash with like the big main games, and just show you that, you know, like some alternative form, or like some underdog, either console, VR in general, like that just kind of like, you know, when everything else is crashing and burning, VR just kind of pops up and says, "Hey, I'm here," and then we might see like a bigger shift or focus into VR, even more so than what we are now.
Well,
that's really like the main way that the only way that I can foresee VR actually coming into like prominence,
Sure.
if at all.
Well,
Like that's like really a hypothetical scenario, but like that's the main way I see it happening.
we'll use that. I'll use that as a pivot to go back into the Jim Ryan topic. I don't
I
see.
was gonna do that.
I don't think PlayStation is going to like just change like their view, like their mindset. Like I feel like they're still going to focus on the AAA
No.
big games. I don't think we're.
Yeah,
I don't think
no.
I don't think the Japanese studios coming back. I don't think we're getting massive indies again. I don't think
No.
we're going back to PS3, Sony, where they do all creative stuff.
No.
I think we're still gonna be in the same
Jim,
place unless Sony
Jim-
starts losing money
yeah.
massively.
well,
Which they are.
because of the way like the direction of PlayStation, like that brand has gone under Jim Ryan, because that has been so profitable and successful for them. I think they'd be stupid to like, unless they had like a really like a Phil Spencer type that came in to replace him and was like really passionate about like, you know, for the player, for the gamers, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't just see them going back to it because like it's done like it's done major bank for them. Why like they'd be stupid to change now from a business perspective.
Plus,
you know,
plus like social media, Twitter. You know, Twitter is not real life, and people ask for
Yeah.
these things. They want the
Yeah.
indie games. They want creative Sony, and then they don't. When the games come out, they don't support it. And like so, Sony
Yeah.
sees the numbers because it's a capitalism, and they see like, well, God of War, Spider-Man selling 20 million, and why are we gonna make obscure indie game and waste our time with our resources?
Yeah.
We can make triple.
that's gonna yeah.
And I mean that sucks. I want creative Sony. I want unique games, but they're a company and they look at the profits like that, and so
Yeah.
I do hope though that like they work on some AA games. Like I want games like
Yeah.
Stray or
Yes.
Sifu or something like where it's like
Yes.
just like maybe not indie, but like at least
And-
it's like AA, almost cinematic kind of game.
I mean, I really
And-
think that the industry has just this huge issue with, and movies have the same issue, where every game has to be like a bit. You know, I'm exaggerating, but like every movie, every video game has to be $1 billion. There has to be 1,000,000,000,000 trillion people working on it. It has to,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
the
it has
problem.
to be
Big
this
problem.
huge open world game, and it's like I don't always think that needs to be the case. Like I'm glad those kind of games exist for those who like it.
Yeah.
But the industry has just become
Yeah.
so overbloated, and then that just gets passed on to the customer, which
Yep.
now we're paying
Exactly.
$70 for new games.
Well,
Yep.
well, this is what I was going to say earlier. Is like to tie it back to Sony. Was like Sean Layden has been saying for like ever since he left PlayStation, he's been saying that AAA video games are too ambitious, and this is the problem. Like they need to scale back,
Yeah.
and like this is what is going to cause issues in the future for the industry.
It's true.
It's like it's too much. It's too much cost. Too much ambition. Like, I mean, you're getting to the point where it's like development cycles are 5-6 years,
exactly.
and it's impossible to stay on the cutting edge
exactly.
because it takes
Well, like,
so
and
long.
exactly.
and I mean that's why we've seen, and that's why we've also seen like just a huge industry shift towards, if not live service models for games, like live service monetization with like skins and item shops and stuff, even in games where like it doesn't belong.
Also, like,
because they're trying.
What I want to see them do more of, and what I hope they will do more, and what I think they will do more of, is games like Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, kind of like
Yeah.
midpoint games that are not quite
Like
full
like
AAA
1.5
Yeah,
type games. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Sony will do. I hope that Sony will do more of those because
Yeah, I
they
like
work really
those.
well. They're a nice
Yeah.
price point, and
Yeah.
they don't take too long to make, and so on.
I think the biggest problem under Sony, under Jim Ryan, besides the all the stuff we talked about, is the lack of multiplayer. I think Sony's biggest weakness, like from a game standpoint, not from a corporate, money and all that. I mean, just from a video game standpoint, the catalog, they lack multiplayer so badly. Like where I think Microsoft gets a little too carried away with everything being like focused on multiplayer all the time and services. I think Sony has none of it. Like Sony. I mean, they are finally looking at that, but they've lacked that for years now. It's a major issue for them.
Yeah.
I mean, and like at this rate, we're not going to see the fruits of, the fruits of that. Like Jim Ryan's effort. I didn't even know if I want to contribute it to him, but like we're not going to see like the fruits bear from that for like another 2 years, I estimate. Like, and that's like
We'll
even
see
if
we might see a couple next
Last
year.
of Us factions.
We might see like 1 or 2.
Maybe,
next
yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, the big one I'm like the big one I'm looking towards is like the Last of Us factions, because like that's going to be like the 10-pole like
Yeah.
PlayStation AAA multiplayer.
I mean,
I have
effort.
moved on from that game. I don't even know if there's something
Yeah.
coming out anymore.
I would really
Yeah,
still praise
I
him for
still
just
hold out.
I mean,
with
we've
that.
still got foam
I'm
stars.
still holding
everybody,
out hope.
right? We've got foam stars. I mean, that's gonna go.
Well,
great,
apparently,
whatever the fuck it's
apparently
called.
people really like Foam Stars. Like the beta came out
Wow.
yesterday, and people
Yeah,
are
I
Can't
really
believe I
digging
got the
it.
name right.
People are really digging it.
Yeah.
Actually.
I
Looks
think
lame.
the thing
it looks like
the thing I
Splatoon.
feel is that like I mean, as we were saying, is like Xbox is focusing on an ecosystem. Like that's why they're focusing so much on multiplayer, because they're focusing on cross-play between Xbox and PC and cross progression with like cloud saves and all that. Whereas Sony is like, obviously it's the PlayStation 5. That's it.
Also, but
I-
keep in mind, I do think PlayStation's getting there too, because they're just behind. Microsoft, I think
yeah.
Microsoft just beat them
Yeah.
to the punch on that. Sony's slowly,
Yeah.
they're shifting the PC. They got that Portal thing coming out with the streaming, and they're enhancing their servers. So Sony's investing in that
the thing is,
space.
right,
That's the
this is-
future of gaming.
Right. This is but
if we're talking about
yeah,
like
you go.
you know, streaming and subscription services and stuff, and Sony being behind Xbox,
Mm-hmm.
the problem is Xbox is there first.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, okay, you don't necessarily want to be the first; you want to be the second. That's what they always say, right?
Oh,
But the problem
Yeah.
is,
just be the best, really.
the problem is, it's like,
Like no one ever was.
Sony's not going to beat Xbox at that kind of stuff
Mhm.
because they're not
Yeah.
they're not disrupting
Mm-hmm.
the market. You know, like they're just doing
No.
the exact same thing that Xbox is doing. And why would you, if they're
Yeah.
doing the exact same thing, why would you go to their service when the Xbox one is so much more developed?
Oh yeah,
Mm.
but Sony has more of like the market share in terms like the power, like the brand power. So if Sony actually got on that level and did a little more with their service, they could make a dent.
But
But I don't think I don't think they're focused on that. I don't think that's their
No, I mean, but the fact that
strategy.
they're doing the same thing, it means they're always going to be one step behind.
Sure, but I think you have to do something, because you can't just like not be in that space at all. I think like it's just
But this comes back to like the core issue with the Jim I was going to say Jim Sony, the Jim Ryan
Yeah.
era of PlayStation is like everything is, there's no innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Like what they need to do is innovate, but
Yeah.
they're not doing that. They're just
Sure.
they're doing what they know works.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And,
You're
like,
right.
the
Remakes,
thing-
remasters,
On-
and AAA cinematic games.
Yeah, on
I
that
feel
point,
like every Nintendo Direct has been remake, remaster lately, and it's like
Sure.
getting so boring.
Sure, but Nintendo, the fact that they get like Tears of the Kingdom look as good as it is on inferior hardware from 10 years ago is just like mind blowing. But but Nintendo innovates. They have a hybrid console that like other companies just don't do. But I'm with you. So I think Nintendo gets a pass on some things that they should have by now. But that's another conversation. But
Sorry,
But
Mitch
you-
keeps
but
getting cut off. Mitch, what did you want to
yeah,
say?
yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say, James, like, interesting. James brought up, like, you know, like kind of they're just going the easy route, going for what works. Something that I've noticed is that obviously with Jim Ryan, I mean, you can kind of contribute this to the pandemic happening, obviously, but it's like, you know, ever since Jim Ryan's taken over, we've never had, as PlayStation fans, like those big hype reveal moments like we had for, you know, like in E3 2016 when God of War was announced, or like whenever Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced, or like, you know, like something as cool as at E3 2019 when like they had like for Ghost of Tsushima, they had like the guy with the flute, and then they had Gustavo Santaolalla, if that's even how we pronounce it. You had him on like the guitar, like doing the theme for Last of Us Part 2.
yeah,
Like, there's
Yep.
none of that passion.
Yeah.
None of that has been communicated through this era of PlayStation, for better and for worse. Like,
They're
I get
corporate.
it, like
Yeah.
like the Sony State of Plays and like the PlayStation
by the numbers.
Direct, whatever the showcases. Yeah, they're more convenient as audiences, I guess, because it's like, okay, cool, it's just a single live stream that we have to watch. It's not like we have to, you know, it's not like we have to go cut in between a live stage and see all these like, you know, fluffs and all that. And that's the thing as well. Like, like we joke about we used to joke about it all the time, but like people love like screw ups and stuff on the stage. That's why the Game Awards consistently do so well every year, because everyone wants to get back to that kind of era of like everyone misses that era where it's like people are allowed to just be people on stage while talking about things. Anyways, I guess before we like move on, like my last point is that I've noticed, and like I feel like you've noticed, like with a lot of PlayStation games recently, like in this PS5 era, for God of War, like for Spider-Man 2 coming out now, marketing has clearly not been a priority on anyone's minds. And I feel like the most transparent reason is because Jim Ryan and Sony, they all just kind of like, they realize that, because they are just sticking with the same franchises and characters and IPs that have done so well for them in the past, they know that they don't have to even bother about marketing really, because the games are going to sell bank regardless. Like obviously, like they still do like the previews and stuff that are like a month out from release.
I don't
to like as like a proof of concept more than anything else, but it's like they like like with but like pre Jim Ryan era Sony, like we'd have E3 demos, we'd have multiple trailers throughout the years. Like we had like I think 2 or 3 story trailers for like the first Marvel Spider-Man movie, and then compare that to like the one story trailer, the one actual gameplay demo we got at the PlayStation showcase, and then like the recent round of like previews and editorials that we've had a couple weeks ago. That marketing wise, that's all we've had.
I mean, I'm not sure I totally agree, because like I feel like the marketing's been fine. Like I do agree about the originality. It's the same games, IPs and over again. But I think the marketing's been fine. I mean, I think Spider-Man's getting a shitload of hype. God of War was everywhere. It was on buses and buildings. Trailers.
Like I'm not so much saying that it's bad, but it's like it's like the marketing's been less of a priority, to the sense that it's like they're not generating, or like, at least allowing room for any of like those major, like say like E3 reveal moments where people go like
I think
those big like holy shit mic drop moments. Obviously pandemic, like E3 is no longer a thing. That's like it's harder to do, it's harder to replicate.
You're not wrong. I think the unfortunate thing is, I think them and Nintendo and other companies are looked at the numbers, and they're like, most people don't watch this stuff like this for the hardcore gamers. So like we don't need to spend the resources on big stages and big orchestras when this game's gonna sell anyway. And I think that's the unfortunate look. That's the part with Jim Ryan, is that like when you're a full numbers guy, that stuff, which is important to us, and I feel like you should do that anyway, even if the numbers don't match. I think you should still do it for the community. But but that's the problem. That's what Sony's at right now, where it's like the numbers say no one watches E3 anymore as much. Like the casuals don't even give a shit. They don't know who Jim Ryan is. Why bother even doing a big stage? And I think that's what they see. They see we just put the trailer on Twitter. It will go viral on YouTube, and it does. And that's that. And even though that sucks for us, I think that's just how they view it, and that's where the game industry is right now. So
it's the most transparently corporate. It's the most like it's just that's it. It's just transparently corporate.
It's the most
which
corporate
sucks.
era
It works though.
Sony PlayStation has had. But my thing, right? Speaking of marketing, and I don't know if you could say this is Jim Ryan's fault, because it was in 2020.
Yeah.
But let's take a little trip. Let's take a little trip down memory lane to 2020, when a little game called Dreams came out.
Oh Jesus.
It got absolutely no marketing. Okay, there was maybe like a trailer. But like
they set the game up to fail. Yeah.
It felt like they were making no effort to make people aware of this thing that had so much potential.
Yeah.
And they sent it out to die. And it was 2020, so I don't know how far in advance they planned this kind of thing, so I don't know if it was Jim Ryan's fault. But damn it, it was under his leadership, and it seems like a Jim Ryan-ass thing to do. So just as a general note, as we're wrapping up the subject,
fuck him.
And that's a great place to end.
Yes. So
I don't
let's
know, what the hell? What is Mitch doing?
so let's pivot to Xbox now.
Is he done?
Yeah.
Yes, he's done. That's what I thought you were doing. I was like, Mitch has walked away from the podcast. We
So-
have another hostage situation.
Let's pivot to
Trade
Xbox now. So they didn't have the best week. They had a good week and a bad week at the same time because they had the leaks were really bad for them, and Phil Spencer woke up to it and was like, "Oh shit!" And then, but
Yeah.
at this point, the CMA has practically accepted their deal, the Activision deal, and because they made that deal with Ubisoft and stuff, so the CMA is happy with the
So-
cloud save. So at this point, Microsoft. I know. Before you say anything, the FTC is going to challenge it again, but they're not. They have almost no shot of winning. So at this point, Microsoft owns Activision. It's pretty much a wrap at this point. But we got a bunch of leaks, and we got to see their plans. First of all, they wanted to buy
a couple years ago.
Yeah, for the last couple of years, and the plans for like next year, which has got me interested. But first of all, they wanted to buy Nintendo, which was that would be terrible for the industry because Microsoft's not exactly innovating either.
And Microsoft is like not like Microsoft and just Japan in general. As much as I want to try and break into that market,
Yeah, I mean, I
Sorry,
do want
I'm
him to.
shaking my head right now. Yeah.
He is. I do want him to break into the Japanese market. I mean, like even as someone who's pro Activision acquisition, them buying Nintendo would have been a terrible, terrible thing.
Oh
So
yeah,
I'm glad that didn't go ahead, and that I'm glad that doesn't seem to be the plan anymore. Although who knows?
I think. I mean, it's obvious to me or most people, but Phil Spencer works for Microsoft. He's our best friend on the surface because his job is to sell us the ecosystem. Of course, he wants to buy all these companies and take over the industry. He loves Sony, like he loves the competition. He loves their games and everything. But he would love if they kicked Sony's ass. Like, of course he would. I mean, why would?
Yeah.
It's corporate. It's competition. It's capitalism. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Competition is really good for the industry. I think that's what's important. But I hate consolidation. I do not want Microsoft to start turning into like this evil Disney corporation buying everybody out. I don't want that either. Activision's done it. Activision won't do that. But if we're talking Nintendo and EA and Take Two, then I'll be like, oh shit, I'm not feeling this.
Well, I mean that's kind of what Phil Spencer's doing right now, isn't he? He's at least like kind of like teeing up, like trying to position up Microsoft as like the Disney of the gaming industry, at least at the moment, where like they're trying to acquire as much capital as possible. Yeah. I mean, like obviously, like not taking into account the Nintendo acquisition idea, because like that's assuming that is dead in the water at the moment, at least.
There's no chance of that. Japan,
like,
they can't buy a Japanese company.
Yeah.
There's a whole legal thing with that. So.
No, yeah.
Activision acquisition aside, I'm kind of of two minds on the whole thing. Kind of similar to my position on Sony, is that like with Sony, where I'm like, I can understand like why they're doing the things they're doing from a business sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's bad for us. I can absolutely understand why Phil Spencer wants to buy a bunch of studios and why he wants to buy Nintendo and that kind of thing. Like because Xbox is on the back foot. They lost the PS4, Xbox One generation, and now there's backwards compatibility, and they're never gonna overtake PlayStation again by making great games.
Yeah.
So like he has to look for other ways to stay competitive. But then at the same time, my other mind is of it can go too far. He can buy like the company can buy too many other companies. There can be too much consolidation.
Yeah.
Although they have to want to be bought. You can't just buy a company. Like Nintendo, it's not like Nintendo's gonna say yes anyway.
I mean, I love that
Just
Nintendo
Phil Spencer
basically
walking
laughed,
up to the
has
Nintendo's
laughed
lobby.
Microsoft off, like has looked at the checkbook and looked at the check and like, you're funny. Like that's never happening ever.
There's nothing more like self-defeating than like just a group of Japanese lawyers just kind of like looking at you and then just laughing.
I think
It's like that. It's like that jive where it's like, this is the part where we throw our heads back and laugh.
You guys, have you guys heard though the story about like when Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo before?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was
Like,
referencing.
Was this
Yeah.
like years
Yeah.
back?
Yeah, years back.
Yeah,
way
okay,
back.
Yeah, yeah,
Like they got
Way
laughed
back.
out of the room.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yo,
Yeah.
it hasn't been the best generation for Xbox either. Like I know
No.
there's a lot of anti-corporate. I mean, not corporate, anti-consumer stuff that Sony's been doing. We went in and all that.
Yeah.
But Microsoft, the consoles haven't sold as well as it's doing okay. It's doing good, but it's getting destroyed by PlayStation, of course. And then like
Yeah.
Game Pass. But the big
Well, I mean,
problem,
no,
the problem is the subscription numbers for
Yeah.
Game Pass have not grown. I mean, if you're going by the numbers of like what the people in court are saying and all that, the Game Pass numbers have been kind of stagnant. And if you paid attention to the court the trial and everything, like a lot of big companies are against being on a service. They're like, there's no profit here. They were kind of shit talking Game Pass. And then you have the whole streaming thing with shows and movies right now too, on like Disney Plus and all that. So yeah, I'm not saying it's been a mess for Xbox. They're doing fine. They're doing really good actually, but it hasn't grown like they wanted it to yet.
It reminds me of how like back when Half-Life 2 was being released, like Gabe Newell was like going like talking about like how revolutionary like the episodic format for like game releases was, and like how it's going to like be the future of gaming. And then like 2-3 years later for Valve and Half-Life 2, obviously that crashed and burned. And then like I think like the true like final nail in the coffin for like these episodic games was Telltale going down.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised we start to see a similar thing with that at least soonish, where like it kind of like subscription based ideas for games just kind of not crashes and burns, but kind of like just reaches like just that impasse of like, because like the reason Game Pass subscriptions aren't going up massively is because basically everyone who would ever be interested in it or would ever want one has probably already got it by now, at least in some form. And and even then, it's like, well, unless you just go for PC Game Pass, which why would you? There's no reason to get an Xbox at the moment because it doesn't have any exclusives. At least like that's my perspective on.
Which they don't care. They just want the ecosystem, the subscription numbers. They don't give a shit what you play it on. They can play it on your phone. And they're happy.
No, but like there's like like there's Xbox Game Pass for PC, but it's like that's got like a really limited selection of games compared to like the main Xbox.
You're absolutely right. The PC Game Pass lacks a lot of stuff. Like
Yeah.
Party Animals, for example, is a perfect example. Or like it's not on PC at all. You have to play on Xbox. Only.
Yeah, exactly.
I have PC Game
Yeah.
Pass. I don't even have Ultimate, and I mean, it's a good service, but I mean, like, I only add a new game every now and then. Most of the games that I have 13 games in my play later list. Most of these games are very long RPGs at this point, with a couple of exceptions.
Yeah.
So,
And don't get me wrong either. Like I've caved in and I've subscribed to like PlayStation Plus Extra, like before they freaking raised the prices on us. But from what I've seen of like obviously PlayStation Plus, which I made on PlayStation, but from what I've seen of Game Pass, ecosystem wise and like quality of life wise, that has way more features and that's like way more like inviting and accessible. Even just like for like the Game Pass app in itself, like where you can like as the story said, like create a play later playlist and do all this stuff.
Sure.
But and and that's probably why they added like those mini tasks or achievements or whatever, like to get people coming back and resubscribing for that.
Well,
but it's like at a certain point, it's like you either like you have to disrupt the market essentially, especially with like Xbox itself, and like really, like give people a reason, not so much just to subscribe to Game Pass itself as a service, but to actually go want to go all in on an Xbox.
It's such a challenging like strategy that only Microsoft can do because they have the money to bleed. Sony can't do that because Sony relies so heavily on PlayStation's everything to Sony. Like if PlayStation's whole brand declined, Sony would be bought off. Somebody would buy them because they would be screwed. So they need those Spider-Man. They need
Microsoft PlayStation.
They need they need the Spider-Man sales. They have to have this. They can't put the game on day one or they would collapse. They have to have that. And but also it's hard to judge where subscriptions are going right now. Like in the short term, the Activision deal is not going to affect anything in the market. Now in 2027 is when we're going to start noticing did the Activision deal make
Yeah.
a huge difference? Like, are people subscribing to Game Pass in record numbers because Call of Duty Day One is on Xbox, the phones, the computers? That's the big question. Like, in the short term, the Activision deal is not going to do shit. It's not going to do anything. No change. PlayStation will break records. PlayStation 5 will outsell the PS4. I don't know. I probably won't hit PS2 because most people bought PS2 because it's a DVD player. But it will break their PS4's number. Xbox will still be like third place. Nothing will change. But in 2027, that's when you're gonna see. Okay, they're playing the long game is what I'm saying. Like, that's what Microsoft's playing.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're gonna see a difference.
Yeah.
Right now, but in 3 or 4 years, you will probably see a difference. So so is the subscription market gonna be different in 4 years? We'll see. It's a big we'll see. Now, what's PlayStation going to do in 4 years? I don't know. I don't know what their plan is for the service. I don't.
Well, I mean, I was just going to bring that up, like, especially obviously because with Jim Ryan's departure coming up soon, I don't want to say we're in an unknown era of PlayStation because, like, for the most part, things will probably just stay the same. But depending on who they get as the new like CEO, like permanently, they could shake things up majorly, especially like with the subscription side of things, because like you might get a guy or someone who's like, I don't care about competing with Game Pass or Xbox. I just want us to do our own thing, do the best we possibly can. So it's like obviously as you said, in 4 years' time, Xbox Game Pass subscriptions, they could be either up with like the Activision Blizzard deal, they could be down because of something else that happens. But then off to the side, PlayStation, who knows what the fuck PlayStation's going to be doing?
Mike, I'm with you, and my question is that the fact that Sony raised their prices on the subscription so high, like by 300%, I wonder if to get the games on their service, how much money they're spending. Do they feel like, oh my god, we're spending way too much money, we have to justify increasing these prices? I'm just curious if if the service is just costing them too much money at this point, that maybe they have no interest in I don't know why they went up so high, because that was absurd. And I feel like maybe it might be because they're spending too much money on these games. I don't know. I
mean, it could be that. Well, because something else I've noticed is that a lot of the games that are on the PlayStation Plus service, I just already own.
Yeah.
Because naturally, because I haven't gone over to Xbox too much.
Yeah.
I've because for years we didn't have that PlayStation Plus extra service, so it's if you wanted a game, you had to buy it. There was no demos, there were no trials, there were no Game Pass equivalent, so we just bought the games, and then by the time they eventually did come out with the service, a lot of the games they have on there, people already have. They've already bought, or they've already played to some extent. Xbox
Game Pass is the problem too, though. I think, for me anyway.
Yeah, but I think like Game Pass has been
newer.
around for longer.
They have newer games, yeah.
Yeah, well, that too. But it's they've been around for longer, so it's it's so deeply integrated into Xbox as a platform now, where it's for the most part, if you have an Xbox, there's a good chance that you have Game Pass, at least from what I know.
You better have it. I don't.
Yeah.
No, it's at a point where people don't even buy. People don't even buy games on Xbox anymore. They just wait for Game Pass, and that's a big thing with Xbox.
That's what I do. I don't have an Xbox.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, now that we're on the topic of Xbox, one of the leaks showed that there's a new Xbox coming, a brand new console.
Oh, really?
They're doing an upgrade.
I didn't hear about that one.
Now, it's not a significant upgrade, but the big thing is it's digital only. It's called a refresh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's digital only, so that's a big thing. Because Microsoft's getting away from physical.
Xbox 720, what are we calling it?
And it looks even more like a Wi-Fi router than the PS5.
Yeah, it's very circular.
I was going to say, for me, the big thing is that it's round.
It's very round, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a cylinder.
They say at GDQ, orb.
The big thing,
which I find it funny that they're going for a cylinder design, since it's Xbox, and Xbox console designs have famously been very boxy.
Yeah. Because it's called Xbox, right? So it makes sense. But, But I think the big
It's the X cylinder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the big problem for Xbox too. This doesn't affect me because I play PC Game Pass mainly, but like on Xbox though, the problem with this generation for them is that PlayStation 5 has played games better than them. Like third-party games have ran way better on PS5 than the Series X. So even though the Series X is stronger than the PS5, the third-party games have just run so much smoother. So credit to Sony. There's something about the PS5's architecture has allowed games to be way better optimized. The Series X is actually there's a lot of videos on it, obviously, like if you watch those videos, but for some reason the PS5 just runs things better than the Series X. It's been an issue, so I'm curious how this console changes things a little bit for that in that regard.
I mean, optics wise as well, when it's like a lot of your like big AAA like Xbox Microsoft exclusive releases have been Redfall quality. Mm-hmm. It's a bad look. You know?
Starfield being 30 frames on a console is ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And like with the way Starfield looks, with the amount of loading screens it has, and like it only being 30 FPS, like because like with like to an extent, like with certain games, you could be like, okay, it's only 30 FPS, but that's because they're compromising that in order to give us better resolution, better textures, better load times, a more seamless open world, yada yada yada. That Starfield had none of that, and I don't like mean that to get on like a tangent or attack on Starfield because I haven't played it, but like from what you guys, it's a great game, whatever. But it's like optics wise, when you say that you have the world's most powerful console,
I agree.
What's going on there?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I meant
and like optics wise for general public.
That's why I invested in a PC. I invested in a PC because I want to play the games at the best quality. And now, so that's why I love Game Pass in that regard. But for Xbox, I think it's been terrible. I think I don't like my Series X. I think I've been very disappointed with it, just because I feel like I've gotten worse versions of games. Like even their first party games, getting 30 frames. I'm like, you know what? I want to play Redfall in like 120 frames. I don't want to play this. I don't want to settle. I hate settling. That's like, you know, you guys know me at this point. I like to have the premium or at least like mid to high.
Yeah.
I hate settling. I can't play games on low settings. I think I'm ruining the game for myself if I'm settling for like a low version of the game. I won't even play it. If I had to play Starfield in the lowest quality, I couldn't play it.
I think you're already ruining your time if you're playing Redfall, but I digress.
I agree. But you know what I mean? but I couldn't play a game in the low settings just to sake of play it. I would just not play it. I wouldn't be fair to me. I couldn't properly judge the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You guys actually you misunderstand. See, they never said it's the most powerful console. What they actually said was it's the most powerful console. It's really good at consoling you when you're sad.
Nice. Terrific. Well,
No.
I feel very consoled.
It's easy mistake to make.
Yeah.
Quickly speaking of the console before we move on as well.
Yeah.
That leak also mentioned that they're looking into this revolutionary thing that they call haptic trigger feedback for the new Xbox controller.
I wonder what would be the impulse behind that. Wow.
So, yeah.
Hey, there you go. Sony did some innovating thing. There you go.
Yeah. Unironically though, depending on how it's priced, of course, that refresh Series X, like I think if anything at this point, if that is like close to releasing, I think I'll just hold off until that comes out before I buy an Xbox, because I mean the controller itself, like haptic feedback aside, it just looks a lot better. Like I don't like the modern Xbox One Series X controller. I find it's too bulky and just rigid. I don't know.
Exact same as the last one, Mitch.
I know, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that one either.
I don't know. I mean, the Starfield controller is very thin.
I think it's fine.
This is very light.
It's fine.
I think this is very light, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing. It's like a lot of the refresh controllers, especially the ones that that instead of having like the big bulky battery pack, like they feel very light and like flimsy to me, at least compared to like, I mean, I mainly play with a DualSense, so I'm used to like how like heavy and tactile that feels, and then like I go to an Xbox controller, I'm like, I feel like I'm playing with like the PS3 DualShock.
No, I understand.
All over again,
because you're so used to it. Yeah, especially the DualSense.
Yeah,
I have the Edge. I have the DualSense Edge.
It's a personal
it's
taste
actually
thing,
heavy. It's heavy. It's actually pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
It's funny though. It's like Xbox controllers are like Porsches. Like they're the Porsches of the video game industry. They say that it's better, but it looks the exact same as the last one.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think.
It's at least not the original
don't know.
Xbox controller. That was a big boy.
Oh yeah, I remember going from like my cousin's house where they only had the original X, like this was years back, where they only had the original Xbox and like that thing, and then going back to use like my 360 controller at home, and like just for like an entire evening I was like just trying to play with that controller, but like I was like so used to having to like stretch my fingers and hands over to reach the yeah, it was a big boy. That's all. That's all there is to say.
Yeah. Now my question is the new Xbox gonna like replace the Series X? Is that gonna be the standard? Like like when PlayStation 5 Slim comes out, is that like gonna be the default console and everything else is kind of just pushed to the side? Or
I hope not.
or is it gonna be $600 or something?
Important. But I mean, look, I think a disk drive is important. But I mean, I see that, but I've been using my Xbox as a Game Pass machine.
It looks like a home assistant. That's what it looks like. It looks like an
Yeah,
Alexa or something,
Yeah.
or a Bluetooth speaker, That's what it looks like.
Alexa, play Skyrim.
Hey
No,
Alexa,
don't
give
tempt
me my
them,
money's
James.
worth.
Don't tempt them.
But yeah, I'm just curious because I people are probably get mad at me for saying this, but I think Microsoft kind of regrets the Series S. I think it's caused them a lot of
Yeah.
problems that they a lot of games that like Baldur's Gate, for example, they just had to like settle for shit. Like there's just like games they can't run on it, and they claim, and they always have to like developers. I think developers get annoyed that they have to develop for like two different consoles.
I'm not sure if it was revealed in the leaks or something else, but did you see that they actually turned down Baldur's Gate or some shit? Like,
Yeah, they
they
did.
brought it to Xbox, and Xbox turned them down because they didn't think it would be a big deal.
Yep.
Which is wild, because even before Baldur's Gate 3, Baldur's Gate was like one of the most critically acclaimed, like beloved, like RPG series of all time,
Yeah.
and or CRPG specifically. And so that's wild to me. And then of course Baldur's Gate 3 ends up being a massive success, way more than Larian.
They also said no to
presumed it
Marvel,
would be.
so it's not they don't have the best track record.
Yeah, and they're
that.
trying to buy out Nintendo with all that shit. So it's like, come on.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry. Wait, sorry.
go ahead.
I just looked at the proposed new Xbox controller. Mitch,
Yeah.
you like this?
Yeah.
I hate the color
I
scheme.
don't know why.
It looks like he's wearing trousers.
Well, to be fair,
Xbox controller.
I mean,
or trousers.
they're the same. They like
to say.
I mean, he likes the Spider-Man controller, so
Whoa! Hey! Whoa! Again, we're doing this. What the fuck? This is a nice controller. You go to heck. Beautiful. Look at this.
It's not
To
that
be
nice.
fair, to be fair,
So
the
gorgeous.
controller is kind of just like a consolation.
If I had an
okay.
extra one of
Missing
these,
out on
I'd
the
throw,
actual-
I'd throw one at your head, Seb. I just want
the
you to
plates.
know, all the love in the world. Throw it at your head.
I would just dodge it.
Yeah.
Spider sense.
No, the
Those Spider-Man
Napoleon
3,
Dynamite.
dodge it and catch it with the
right.
web and throw it back at you.
Hopefully, just like in Spider-Man 3, the video game, you don't fail the QT and then the
But,
woman explodes.
No, now,
Hi.
This
wait, go ahead.
I don't want to die.
this controller, though. I don't know. I mean, like it looks like a prototype. Like it looks like the actual
I mean,
Probably
yeah,
is.
like,
I mean, these are
will
leaks.
look-
Well, I mean,
it
this
probably
is-
is a prototype.
Don't worry with the color.
I mean, the leaks are like a year old at least. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
But
So-
I think if they do release something like this, the final version will look a lot more like what we already know to be the Xbox controller, because
They're not gonna
like
change
this
it.
thing with what I like about the Xbox
No.
controller is kind of you know the way like it kind of like the handles, right? Like the way the handles connect to the rest of the controller, it kind of looks seamless.
Like,
But with
as in how
this-
thick they are. Yeah.
Yeah. But like with this, it's like it's got these little stubs on the bottom.
Mm.
You know, it's like
I mean,
the legs of a
don't the
table.
current ones? Don't the current ones have that though?
No.
Or am
'cause
I
it looks
remembering
more
that wrong?
integrated. It looks like part of the controller, but this it looks like.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think especially with like the black cut to white.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, I
probably.
think as well,
Like
it-
I think that
the-
probably makes it look more like it's just stuck on there.
Yeah. Well, I think because of the fact that you have like a matte black finish and then you have like a glossy white on top of it, like obviously that contrast just makes it feel a bit more off.
Funny you say that because that's what the
like
DualSense
this is just early. Yeah.
That looks good.
But
though.
yeah, I think. I mean, honestly, I'm just kind of down for the fact that it looks like they're taking some of the better aspects, like they're taking the best aspects from the DualSense, and then they're taking like some of the things like the D-pad from the Elite controllers, putting it all into one there. Yeah,
Xbox absolutely needs haptic feedback. If not for the fact alone that it's a great feature, then just for the fact that like it should become a standard.
Well, I mean, because like. Yeah, well, because like going from obviously DualSense haptic feedback to whatever the fuck kind of vibrations they have on like their current controllers for some of their games, I'm just like,
it's night and day.
This feels really clunky. Yeah,
I miss it when I play games. I miss it.
Yeah, 100%.
But
and it's like I remember like before the PS5 comes out, where like, or at least I was like semi-skeptical, like. Is it just going to be a gimmick? Is it going to be like, because like the way they market it was like, this is like a gimmick, but then it's like you're actually using it. Like I never want to go back. It's
Now, for the sake of pacing, we got to start wrapping it up. So before we do, I want to mention the games that got leaked. That's like probably the biggest news more than anything else. Well, the rumor's true. We are getting an Oblivion remaster, which is really awesome. Oblivion is one of the best RPGs of all time. Now I don't know if it's a remake or it's just a like remastered in terms of just like a better version of it, like special edition, like Skyrim. But we'll see. But it might be a remake. And then we're also getting a Fallout 3 remaster, which really excites me. Fallout 3 is like top 20 game of all time for me. Like that's the game that really made me love Bethesda. Even though New Vegas is better, I think Fallout 3 is such a classic, and I'm really excited to play that game again, especially on PC. I'm curious again what kind of graphics it's going to be. Is it, when they say remaster, what does that mean? How much are we scaling this up? I don't know, because remaster is. Yeah, we know what a remaster and a remake is, but we don't. But some games call it a remaster, and then it ends up being a remake. So it's kind of sometimes.
Well, I mean,
Skyrim remaster.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like they'll say remaster, but it's like we're just going from 480p to high 720 1080p. Look, if this still holds true, because obviously, like, you know, like it says here, Deathloop comes out in 2020, which it didn't. Starfield came out in 21, which it didn't. Same with Redfall. Like, depending on how much of this is still true, it's interesting that, like, it's interesting to see, like, especially like with how Starfield's development has gone. Because, like, I'm assuming they're like the original plan was, all right, we're going to release Starfield in 21, and then like. After that, we're going to have the time to work on the Oblivion remaster and whatnot before Elder Scrolls 6. Is it Elder Scrolls 6 or is it 5? 5 was Skyrim.
I think it's 6.
Yeah, 6.
The new one is 6. I think, yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of just depends on whether or not they still find the need to go back and remaster those games. Like I think preservation-wise, I definitely think it's worth it. Just in general, even if I don't like that kind of game, I think it's worth it to go back and
I think
remaster those games.
Though.
Well, that too. That's the thing. That's like, yeah.
Do you know what
I know. Sorry, you go.
You go ahead.
Okay. I mean, because potentially, like, even if they don't like. I mean, like, probably resource intensive wise, it's probably, like, you know, the most realistic idea. But, like, I know a couple years back for, like, the original Gears of War games, like, especially Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3, they just, like, put out an update for, like, all Xbox, like, series consoles, I think, and, like, even, like, the Xbox One X and whatnot, where they just did, essentially, like, an update that naturally, like, boosted the game's visuals from, like, 1080p or whatever to native 4K 60 FPS. And then they, like, kind of resurrected, like, the game's multiplayer servers and stuff. Like, I wonder if it's going to be, like, that kind of situation where it's, like, it's the same client, it's the same application, but now it's just an update that boosts all the graphics and textures and details up or something. Even more higher than they currently are, but I don't know.
Well, most make it like standard screen, widescreen, because like if you play like Fallout 3 on the PC now on Steam or something, it's like from a 2008. The game doesn't even have achievements. It's like it's just like you play it like a very smaller screen. It just doesn't feel like a modern game, obviously, 'cause it's not.
Yeah.
And so that alone, just allowing people to play it like in widescreen and with little updated graphics, people will be very happy. But
100%.
But also, what's also was in that leak was the Ghostwire Tokyo 2. They're making a second one apparently. And then I don't know if they're still working on it, but that was on the list. And then also Dishonored 3.
Didn't Ghostwire end up doing poorly for them sales wise, or am I just confusing that with something?
I don't remember. I'm not sure actually.
Sales figures.
The PlayStation exclusivity.
Okay, 4 million.
4 million's good.
4 million players. Yeah, that's pretty good.
You know what I want to know?
I'm not sure when though. Okay, so 5th of May of this year was when they announced 4 million players. So
that's not bad.
Yeah, like just over a year onwards. No, that's pretty good then. Okay, that's possible then.
Yeah, good marketing, I thought, or at least decent marketing.
I will be forever in love with the marketing because it's spooky. I still remember that.
I remember like it having like a strong introduction, but then it's like they just kind of like. Yeah. But then they were just silent on it for like a year and a half, and then it's like, it's coming out in March. It's January now, but here it is.
I could be totally wrong, but I think it was like not huge, but it was like big, a little big, because it was like the only first-party Sony game around that window. So like, people were all like looking for the next PlayStation game. So I think that kind of helped.
Like when it released.
When it released, I think people were like looking for the next Sony game, and it was a time exclusive for a year. So. But we gotta start wrapping it up. That's the big ones, really. Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Dishonored, and obviously the Indiana Jones game, but we already knew about that. So
I do want to mention Doom Year Zero. Yeah, whatever that is. I if that's even still a thing, because like officially id Software have said that they're not planning on doing another another Doom game for a while. After they did the second DLC, I'm not sure though. I don't know. Do we even know what id are working on at the moment, actually, or like what they might have teed up?
I haven't heard anything actually.
id Software new game, because I know obviously Wolfenstein Youngblood didn't do well. And then they had Doom Eternal and all that.
Aren't they like helping? Like, aren't they a support studio right now? I mean. They're probably working on something too. Haven't they been mostly helping out their developers in Microsoft?
That too.
I'm pretty sure.
It says Xbox as of June. Phil Spencer seems extremely excited about id Software's next game, but they didn't actually say what it was. So,
all right.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next topic. Let's start talking about. Try to pull up the list. Hold on. All right. So, for the rest of the show, we're going to talk all about games, specific games, our impressions.
Games.
Games on this podcast?
What the fuck? I didn't agree to this shit. Well, wait a second. I'm getting off this podcast.
Let's start. So let's start with Cyberpunk. Now we're not going to talk about the DLC because I don't think any of us have played the DLC, but we can at least talk about the 2.0 of Cyberpunk, which I think is totally different game. Like I like. It's like
you have.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mitch.
Sorry, you haven't played since launch, have you?
Right. I played it like when the week it came out and beat it, and then it was a complete mess.
Oh, you actually did beat it.
Oh yeah, I beat it like. I was playing it during the Game Awards, like literally when the Keeleys were playing. I was playing it while it was going on. Yeah.
Right. Right. I remember that now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So full disclosure, I've never beat it. I've started. I had my first character that again, like when I played it at launch. I think I got about like 15 to 20 hours into that save file. But if you aren't already aware, there's the famous optional dialogue box lore of the fact that my game essentially soft locked for me for a while. Whenever Keanu Reeves said "nice cock," my game would crash. So basically, it got to the point where I'm like, that was like kind of like my point where I'm like, yep, I'm putting the game down. I'm not. I'm not. I'll leave it until they actually fix the game, and then like I came back a bunch of months later when they actually had like the proper PS5 upgrade. And by that point they'd added like apartments and like a bunch of other shit to the game. And when they did that, I started my second character. My first character was a corpo. Second was a street kid, and then like I played that for like 16 or so hours. Then I put it down. Then when the 2.0 update came out, I initially, because of how big the changes were to the like upgrade and perk system, which I'll get more into in a little bit, I was like, all right, I'll start a new character because like I want to start from scratch, you know, like do all that stuff. I got about like 3 hours into like my third character, which was a nomad, but then I got up to that. Well, for one, I really badly botched a certain mission that, you know, obviously didn't screw me over for the story or anything, but like I just didn't like how it played out, like role playing wise.
Yeah.
And then the highest mission, even though like at the end of the first act, it's a great mission, but it's extremely long and tedious and a lot of talking. So I'm like, all right, I'll return to my second character. I decked him out properly to really focus into like, you know, like your bladed weapons and kind of like dashing and flying around and shit. And I continue with that, and I've had a ball. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's the game I wanted. I mean, I'm probably the biggest CD Projekt Red fan here. I think The Witcher 3 is, if not for God of War, it might be my game of the generation, or right in the top 5. And yeah, CD Projekt Red, I would have said is the best at Western RPGs, like by far. Like they're just absolutely insane. And now, my problem, I thought Cyberpunk was the most disappointing game of 2020. And that was but that was mostly because, or 2029, was 2019? No, 2020.
2020, yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. It feels like that game came out in the same year as all the games we mentioned earlier. But yeah. So it didn't even make my top 10. And I can't even tell how hyped I was for that game. Because, you know, I love Fallout. I love Elder Scrolls. I love that style of gameplay. I'm a huge fan of that kind of game. And that game was a massive disappointment. But it's because the PS4 version was hot garbage. I mean, I still liked it. Like, I gave it like a 7.5 and 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was just a complete shit show. Like, even I remember my dad coming, like, saw the gameplay and he was like, "This doesn't look right." I'm like, "Yeah, there's something off about this." And it was blurry. It was completely blurry. The lighting was terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of glitches like other people did, but it looked like a mess. So when I play the PS5 version now, with the new patch and shit, it's like a totally different game. Yeah. It's like, it's not even, now this is the masterpiece that they were hyping it to be. This is the great game. That is the game that they were hyping.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another No Man's Sky situation where the game release just wasn't what was promised, and it took years to unravel that and actually deliver what they want, which is a really
which I like.
I just want to say, shitty trend in gaming that I hope does not continue.
Yeah, I like it and dislike it. I love a comeback story, but I also hate the fact that we get unfinished games, and then they fix it. Like, why are the games already out? I'm like mixed emotions about that one. But
I mean, it's like, because like what, even like just probably like an even more recent comparison, like Dying Light 2, which was that 2022 it came out, or 2020? No, 2022 it came out.
Yeah, last year. Like early.
Yeah, I like it's same again. Like, it launched in a really broken, buggy state, but the developers, they stuck with it. They added a bunch of like updates and stuff to it. Like, most recently, they completely redid like how the knights work and how like XP gains work. Well, not like how knights work with XP and just general difficulty. And it's legitimately an entirely new game now. It feels fantastic to play. But again, it's like, it's not a trend. Like, that's the tricky thing, because it's like,
exactly,
you know, it's like, just the games that are produced after the fact, they might be great. But it's like, part of me still feels hesitant to, like, you know, just ladle them with all the praise, because it's like, you guys still released this product, like, you still made people pay full price for this product, at launch when it was broken. And it's like, yeah, like cool, you know, it's cool that you gave it to us for free and all that, but
Exactly.
you know, and as you mentioned earlier, just, you know, dev cycles is like probably averaging, you know, anywhere from like 3 to 5 years nowadays. And even then, some of these games are still releasing at that state, and they'd take another 3 years to actually be complete. And it's frustrating.
Absolutely. Because the thing was, that game is the writing was strong, even with all the problems, technical problems. The writing and the world was really good. Like, even that's what saved 100%. That game. Like I was a cyber like samurai character. I only use swords. Yes. I would just run in and slash everybody with swords. I loved role playing as this like samurai, like futuristic samurai kind of character, like cybernetic samurai. Yeah. And it was so awesome. Like that was the gameplay. Like the fighting was good. I was happy. I had a blast with that. It was like I remember when you're in the open world and you had to drive around. That's when it started showing. Like I'm not feeling this, but
I like to call it the Bethesda effect, where like I've just been so used to games for so many like first person RPGs for so many years, having terrible controls or gameplay, and then like along comes Cyberpunk. Even at launch, I was like, oh my, this actually plays well. It's actually got satisfying shooting mechanics. Yeah. I mentioned this to you I think a day or so ago, but it's like before the like PS5 update, like at launch, I barely interacted with the open world at all. Like I didn't do any of like the side hustles or side missions or anything. I just stuck to the main story path purely because like the state that it was at, like if I focused on the main story path where it's like we're usually in confined locations where they've put the most attention into like polishing it up, at least you'd hope, then it's going to be fine. But if I started to do side stuff and explore the open world, I'll see more of the bugs. Yeah. So I just didn't engage with that side of the game at launch. But then once they started fixing it, it's like a whole new layer of the game was just opened up to me that I'd never even seen before. Right. And especially now with the 2.0 update, it's like, it's fantastic. It's I hesitate to say my favorite RPG because it's like nowadays fucking anything can be an RPG if you want it to, but it's definitely my favorite RPG of this type, where it's like it's like story focused. It's very like character build.
So you would say it's your favorite Western RPG of all time?
Yeah, I'd say that. Like granted, I haven't exactly played a huge plethora of them to compare it to, but RPG? Out of the ones I have played.
Oh, no, did you say RPG of all time, or just like Western?
I mean, probably like Western's probably the better term, because like Persona 5, like especially when I played it, that was like that's fantastic, but that's like completely other ballpark, you know.
Yeah. Technically the same genre if you really want to be technical, but
I mean, you're right. Same genre, but it's like like the Persona 5's approach to gameplay and just like creating your own storytelling, and Cyberpunk's are completely different.
Sure.
Completely different.
So I think the problem with that game too, when it came out, was just the fact that like it felt like an exclusive club. Like if you didn't have a 4090, like it was built for like the high end PC. If you didn't have that like PC at the time, you couldn't play it. Like get what they were going for. Like it almost felt like they made the game just to like sell the 4090 video card. Like it felt like right when it came out in the video.
It was the 30. It was the
3090. 3090. Yeah, right? You're right. Yeah, 3090. 3090. It felt like they just made it just to sell the 3090 PCs. Like if
I honestly retained the idea that, as you said, like even at launch, the game was still like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. But that's mainly just because of like the base structures are there. The main thing holding it back was just the lack of polish and bugs.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
I agree.
And now with all the updates, it's like a 9.5 on a good day.
If it was a new game and it came out this year, it'd be in the conversation as game of the year.
Which would be insane, because we've had Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield.
Yeah.
It'd be a packed game awards season.
I don't mean just like in that like six, like those 6 games. I mean like it would be in the Baldur's Gate Tears of the Kingdom race.
100%.
Because those two games are, it's a two-man race. The other games are irrelevant compared to those two games.
And the funny
Yeah.
thing is,
For Game
if
of the
they
Year,
had
yeah.
actually if they'd actually not released it in 2020 and waited until they had created the updates that they have today,
Yeah.
they actually would have been out sooner because they wouldn't have had to waste so much time apologizing.
Yeah. I was actually gonna say that. Like they should have waited.
Yeah.
I said that, I
Yeah.
think I said that when the game came out too in 2020 when we were on the podcast. I'm pretty sure I said that.
Yeah.
This game felt like it
Oh,
came out too
everyone,
soon.
yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah. 100%.
because you know, when people think of that game now, they just think of like the shit show that it was at launch and the crunch and all that. But mostly
to
the
be honest,
technical issues.
I think the really damning thing for it, especially at the time, was PlayStation taking it off its store.
Yes.
That was like the big
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Like I reckon
Yes.
if PlayStation hadn't gone for that move, the PR for Cyberpunk wouldn't be nearly as tainted. Like nowadays, generally, it's really positive PR because of everything they've built up since then. But
That and
like at launch, it wouldn't have been nearly as bad. At least on like the console side of things.
Sure.
You know, like because at least like at that point, then it's like you know, once they took it off the store shelves, it's like, yeah, you can't defend the launch state for consoles, like especially on last gen at all.
plus people move on.
It-
You know,
it-
time heals.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
actually a 9 out of 10 for me when it came out, just because the writing was so strong.
Yeah.
And that was important
Yeah.
to me. That kind of thing.
I've really noticed that now, especially it's fucking fantastic.
I regret playing it on the base PS. And I played on PS4 Pro, but I regret playing the PS4 version. I think it just soured
Did you,
my experience so much that like
did you not play it on the PS5?
no, I played it when it came out. Like, PS5 wasn't out yet.
Or
Yeah, it was.
Oh no, excuse me. I did play.
it
No,
was-
excuse me. No. I played on the PS5, but it was the PS4 version because they didn't have a PS5 version.
Yeah.
So
that's what,
yes,
that's what
yes.
I did.
My bad.
And mine was,
Yeah.
I mean, I had bugs. I mean, we made a whole
Yeah.
video about with footage from the bugs I had, but
Yeah.
none of them were particularly obtrusive apart from the crashes. But the crashes weren't that obtrusive either because
No.
I could on the PS5 it's quick to restart and autosave so regularly. But we're getting into a whole other can
Yeah.
of worms.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, it might have been like my third game I played on PS5. Like after like Miles Morales and
Yeah,
Sackboy.
it was-
I think it was like the game.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm playing all these PS5 games just came out, and I'm focused on Cyberpunk. So yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, it was like my third PS5 game. I was not happy, especially on the PS5. I mean, I knew the PS4 versions would be inferior anyway, but I was like,
Yeah.
this PS4 games look way better than this. I mean, I just played Horizon and God of War. I was like, this is what it looks like. So you're playing Demon Souls remake, and you're playing Miles Morales, and the graphics are just phenomenal in those two games, right? Especially Demon Souls.
Yeah.
Demon Souls still looks amazing. And then you jump to like Cyberpunk on the PS4, or the PS4 version, and you're like, holy shit, this game looks awful. Like I can't believe what I'm playing right now, and that's my takeaway from that game.
Yeah, I think
at the time.
before we start to move on, I think the biggest thing about Cyberpunk that other devs can learn from Rockstar is the fact that they can make their big giant open world game still be as immersive as possible while actually having controls that aren't complete dog shit.
It's time for
And-
GTA 6
Okay.
needs to have better controls than Red Dead, for sure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
respectfully disagree. I think the controls in Red Dead 2 are fine. Absolutely fine.
No,
Okay.
I disagree.
Maybe if not for the controls themselves, the fact that it's so animation driven that it's
I
like
love that.
I can't
like,
tell you.
I get it. I get it for immersion purposes, and it's like there are times like when I'm deep into the game, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's like at a certain point, you kind of need to like get an input. Like because The Last of Us Part 2 like had that where it's like, you know, like Ellie and Abby had to physically pick up the items in order for it to register, and like, you know, like they'd have to physically put into their backpack and then it'd register, and like animations would take a lot longer, but they were still sped up to a point where it's like it didn't break the flow of gameplay. And like granted, maybe it's just like
It wasn't even.
I wasn't engaging with it on its level, but it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's fine because well, I mean, it's a different style. Look, Ghost of Tsushima is the opposite end of the
Yeah.
spectrum for that. right? Where it's like
Hard
you know,
opposite,
everything is
yeah.
super fast. It's just a button press, and it just
just
adds to your
is.
inventory, right? But
Yeah.
it's I so much prefer Red Dead 2 to that because it makes me feel like I'm part of the world. Like if things taking time,
Yeah.
taking time
Well-
to pick up something off the ground, it makes me feel like that like simple
I'm not
thing that I've
yeah.
just done has meaning.
I'm not referring to the horse riding and the distances of the travel. I mean, like, I couldn't even buy something without like aiming my gun on the character on accident because the triangle button or whatever it was the same button as like the prompt button.
See, I've heard
Yeah.
that complaint a lot, but it never happened to me. So
Oh, I had that
have
problem
to-
like
I
half
have
the
to
game.
say-
I had a bounty on me
Yeah,
half
that's
the game
true.
just because I kept aiming guns at people on accident. And not only that, I hated the mission structure. Like, you walk like 10 feet away to the right, and you
This
said,
guy is such a dick. He just walked up to me, pulled out his
I know.
gun, and pointed
I'll
at me. What is wrong with it?
and I was like, I was a good criminal. So I was. So and not only that though, like I hated the mission structure because you would walk like 10 feet to the right, and it would be like, oh, you failed the mission, retry. Like I barely moved anywhere. Like I hate how linear the game was for the missions. I mean,
no,
not for
look,
the open
once
world.
again, I see where you're coming from. I think there's a very simple reason why you feel that way. That I can explain. But to put it simply, you're wrong.
No, I'm right. But
Somebody needs to
I
clip
think
that. That was
not only
good.
that, but
Somebody
it
needs to
played like a
clip that.
PS2 game. Like the aiming felt like a PS2 game. Like it was like it just felt like an old game with like beautiful paint on it. But it was still my second favorite game of the year. It was my second favorite game of the year.
Unironically for me,
It was.
I
No, it was.
think
It was a
the,
masterpiece.
that
That
was
game is a
such a
masterpiece.
twist.
Yeah, it's a masterpiece. that game.
Unironically for me, the most annoying thing in Red Dead was the fact that like every single time I wanted to pick up a fucking flower, it's like Arthur just had to go like, oh, my back. I put in my satchel. Okay, we're good. Oh, I got TB.
If you want to have a serious conversation about Red Dead, I'll praise the hell out of that game for like an hour. But like, just
Yeah.
the controls and the combat,
Yeah.
I thought was. That's the reason why it wasn't.
GTA.
That's
GTA
why it wasn't
5
my game of the year.
unironically feels better to play.
Yeah.
GTA 5 unironically
That's
feels
why.
better to play.
That's why it wasn't my game of the year. I thought God of War was a better game because it had everything, plus great gameplay. Where I
Oh,
thought,
shit.
where I thought Red Dead.
Came
Is
in.
it too late to do a
Why
Red
pick
Dead
on it?
Redemption 2 spoiler cast?
It'd be a good mini episode.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is better than God of War because Red Dead Redemption 2 innovates and God of War
I-
perfects.
But I argue that innovation can be overrated. I don't need innovation in a game. I think if a game does something well, then it can be better.
I refer you to my earlier argument. You're wrong.
About.
Well, anyway, this doesn't have much
I
to do
think
with
the-
Cyberpunk. So
yeah,
do you have anything more to say about Cyberpunk?
Yeah, we're gonna move on now.
Yeah.
I just
Not
wanted
that Cyberpunk's my
to cap-
favorite topic, as I've been notably
Yeah.
silent.
to cap this off, I think the biggest praise I can give for Cyberpunk, which ironically also ties into Red Dead, is that no game since Red Dead 2 has made me like get immersed enough with a world to the point where I actually try and make sure that my player
Yeah.
character has like a semi-consistent sleep schedule and just daily schedule. It's like, all right, it's 3 a.m. Let's try and let's get 6 hours of sleep.
That face when your sleep schedule in video games is better than your sleep schedule in real life.
So, but
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. But the only thing is, I would say is it's not since Red Dead. It's since Baldur's Gate because Baldur's Gate was like that for me. It's so immersive. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you really should play it. I really recommend that, Mitch, on PS5.
I will also recommend it. I'm gonna come to Australia and bully you into playing Baldur's
Yeah,
Gate.
you should definitely
Well,
play
they,
that.
they just want you to play it so that you can listen to the spoiler cast.
And then
Well, yeah, that's true too.
And,
Hey,
then
free plug.
and then agree with us when we pick it as game of the year.
Exactly. Yes.
Then there's no
It's
argument.
not too late, Mitch. You two can get on the bandwagon and pick
Join
that as
us.
our collective game of the year.
Join us.
Join us.
You're just gonna show up to the Game of the Year discussion with just robes and
That's right.
robes like join us.
The Undertaker's music coming in.
Play it for if no other reason, just to hold up to the tradition of me being the one arguing for some indie game to be game of the year while
Yes,
everyone
exactly.
else
That's right.
wants the big game.
I mean, Larian is technically an indie studio. They're not owned by any corporation or anything like that.
Exactly. All right, let's move on.
corpos.
Let's move on. So a lot of games came out. A lot of big things came out the last 2 weeks. For starters, Mortal Kombat 1. which I think is
Mortal Kombat.
which I think is a very quality fighting game. Like it's not like a 9.5. It's a very solid 8.5. Or that's not solid. That's good. You know what I'm saying? It's not like amazing, but it's really really good.
Yeah.
Now I want to start with the story mode. The story mode in this game is amazing. I love the story in this game. And it actually does like a Flash timeline again, like Final Fantasy VII Remake's doing, what the Flash is doing, what Doctor Strange is doing. It's doing it again. More timeline storylines. Because if you didn't know, they rebooted the series, but it's a sequel and a reboot because it connects to the last game and the game before that. Liu Kang becomes the Time Lord. He becomes God. He rewrites he becomes the Doctor.
He gets a TARDIS.
Yeah, he gets the TARDIS. Yeah. He rewrites all of history, and he does it in his own image. So that's what. So we're back to square one. We're back to the original Mortal Kombat 1. And so what I love about that, right, is everybody feels fresh. Like every character is different. They got different storylines. Like they're similar enough where you know the character. Like, oh, that's Scorpion, that's Sub-Zero, that's but they changed the storyline. Like Baraka's not a villain. Baraka's a good guy. Baraka has a sympathetic. His family. He has a disease, and his whole family died from the disease. They made him a sympathetic character. Or Sub-Zero and Liu Kang's like Raiden's role, and Sub-Zero and Scorpion are working under him as like they're like his right hand man, left hand man, and then like Raiden, as we know it, is not a god. He's just like a guy that he's like a monk just training. Like they changed everything we know, and I love it. It feels so fresh. Like the storyline was really really good. Even like all the villains, like Shao Kahn is not. He's like actual. Like he's a general. He's not like the big baddie. He's actually like plays a role as like a side character. It's really cool. Like everything we know is different.
Speaking of baddies, how's Megan Fox in the game?
Not an issue at all because first of all she's barely in it. The character is barely in it. Now it's noticeable. It's noticeable like when you fight the character. But other than that, she's barely in it. The voice acting in this game is quality. I think the acting is very good. The character models look great. It's high. The cutscenes are high quality. This is quality.
This one I'm not asking, ironically. But how is Jean Claude Damme or what the
Van
heck
Damme.
is his name?
Jean.
Well, he's not.
Jean-Claude.
Well, he's
Van Damme.
not. That's only
is he good as Johnny? Because I know they've wanted him for years.
Is that I think that's only the DLC, isn't it? Like I don't think.
Yeah,
Oh, is it?
he doesn't
I
voice
had no
him in the
idea.
main. No, yeah, he's a DLC
Yeah.
skin. It's the same as how they got Lyndon Ashby from like the original Mortal Kombat movie as like a skin for Johnny Cage and MK11 like everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I totally knew that. By the way, thank you for the
Yeah.
thing. I definitely knew prior.
I
mean, he's in the game. He's in the game.
Right,
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
I actually have a question. I have a question. So
Okay, I have an answer.
good, great.
Hopefully.
So basically, I'm sorry, I've been drinking. It's getting late. What was my question? Oh yeah. Okay, so like with the story being like a reboot, but like based off of the previous storylines, like, would you say it's a good jumping on point for
Absolutely.
new players?
Absolutely. It accomplishes two things. It gets new players in, and it appeals to nostalgia. It's very similar to Final Fantasy VII Remake. If the Final Fantasy VII Remake is a great jumping point, as per the three of you. All right, none of you played the 7, but you guys love the remake, or Mitch mostly likes it. And like, but for me, I love the 7 and I love the remake because I love all the meta references that I get that you guys don't get. So it's doubly good. You know what I mean? And that's what this game does. There's so many references and like callbacks to like the original games and the like Deadly Alliance and Annihilation and all that stuff that like I get it, which because I've been playing Mortal Kombat since like the Sega days.
I did think it was weird that every time that Melina was gonna get a fatality against her, like Ghost would come into the screen and like stop that from happening. Thought that was a little weird, but otherwise, looks like a great game.
So yeah, like, so for it's a great jumping point for you guys and a great jumping point for well, not a great jumping point, but a great connection for me because I get all the references. I get like, oh my god, I love that they changed her. They changed him. So the story mode is really good. Would you buy? Would I recommend this game for $70 for a story mode? No, I mean story mode is only like
4 hours.
4 hours to like
Oh, really?
six. It's like 4 to 6 hours.
Okay.
If you can skip the cutscenes, so it's probably even if you wanted to, and it's even faster if you do that. But why would you do that? Like that's the story mode.
Then? What's the point?
The story mode's really really good, unless you're like all into multiplayer only, which some people are. So
Yeah.
but it's really really good.
One thing I did want to mention, because like each like NetherRealm game, they have the story mode, and then they have, aside from the multiplayer, they also have like some additional like some live service type thing that like keeps people coming back. The invasions mode for this one, have you played much of it at all? Like the one that's like the sort of tabletop type view.
I think it's repetitive. I don't think it's
Yeah.
that great, to be honest with you. It could be a lot better.
I've heard as much from people, because which is because like from what I saw from early previews, where it's like not so much an RPG, but it's like you have your characters, you go across on this little game board thing, and then like you can level them up and add like gear and modifiers to your characters and all that. That sounded cool
Yeah.
on paper, but then it's like everything I've heard, it's like it's just repetitive.
In a fighting game, that's just repetitive because all you do is just fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fighting game, but it's like Street
Yeah.
Fighter has like a whole mode where you get to walk around a town and RPG elements. Like this game just has that, and it's not the same. That's why Street Fighter is a more quality fighting game. But yeah, it's lagging.
To be fair though, like at least like what like Injustice 2 and Mortal Kombat 11, they had essentially the same thing but worse, because like they just had the towers that you did through all the menus and stuff. Though to be fair, MK11 did have the crypt that was like basically like a giant dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
And stuff that I remember enjoying. Well,
Yeah, I
really
liked it
enjoyed,
too.
But yeah,
It was solid. Yeah, I had fun with it.
yeah, for sure.
Now the online pretty much the same. Like it's for better or worse, it's the same. So
Yeah,
you get your moments where it runs really well, and other times, yeah. I don't play online a lot. I know like people buy fighting games just to play online. I like the campaign mostly, but like I do dabble.
yeah.
I do dabble.
So do you feel like they did much innovation with this game at all? Because like obviously, I mean like with NetherRealm, like because at least before this, all their past games like had some like kind of big innovation. Like MKX had the variations. Injustice 2 had like the full on gear system. Then MK11 kind of had like a mix of the two. Like, does this have like any of that stuff, or is it just like a straight fighting game?
I think the big difference is like the gameplay in terms of like the fighting, the assists, like the way you can like transition characters out and stuff. Like you do so many cool combos and things like that. I feel like that it feels more fresh. I think the gameplay flows better. The fighting's like just a lot smoother.
Yeah.
I think it looks and it runs really smooth. The frame rate's really good. The settings, everything looks great. I think it's not like, I'm not gonna say it's innovating and like it changes the whole franchise. It's nothing like that. It's still Mortal Kombat, but I think they've done enough with the gameplay that it feels fresh. It feels like the new Mortal Kombat. Like it feels like a modern fighting game. Yeah.
Do you think like you'd want the system to like be like the tentpole for like all Mortal Kombat things going forwards? Like all the sequels need to have at least some form of the cameo system, or like you just happy for it just to be like this in this one game, and then like they move on to something new for the next?
It'd be kind of interesting if they do like a tag system, like the old Dragon Ball Z games where you switch characters like in between the fight. That'd be interesting. They haven't done that yet, so maybe something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy where they're at, because I mean, to me, like these games don't come out every year. If they came out every year, that'd be one thing. But like since it comes out every 4 or 5 years, so it feels, it's still, even though it's the same pretty much, it feels fine, because it doesn't need, it's not Call of Duty. Like if Call of Duty comes out every year, it feels the same. It's one thing. But when a game comes out every 4 years, it's fine.
I mean, at this stage, because like they usually, I mean, at least for a little bit, like they had like MK9, then 2 years later they had the first Injustice, then 2 years later MKX.
That's when I started feeling samey.
Injustice 2. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like it's probably a good thing that they kept 4 years between this and 11.
I think they polished it a lot better from those games. Like I feel like they took their time this time, and it feels like the most fluid Mortal Kombat game in a while. So in that sense, it's innovating, but it's not. It's pretty much the same, like as Injustice.
Do you feel like I know they hyped up. What is it? The cameo system or something? Or
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's the
Yeah. Okay.
tag thing.
Yeah.
I knew it sounded familiar. Yeah, the cameo system.
With a K.
Okay. With a K, of course.
Of course, of course.
Now I will say with the story, I loved Reptile. I love what they did with Reptile. They made him like a sympathetic character because he can shapeshift into a human. Well, he could anyway, but they made him like he gets a lot of dialogue. He becomes a major side character. He's sympathetic, but his family, they added a whole backstory to him. There's no Kano at all in this game. No Sonya at all.
There's
in the
yeah,
story,
I was going to say
story.
that. No,
Yeah.
there's no Jax in it either, is there?
No Jax at all.
No Australians.
Interesting.
Then
No Australians.
and then maybe I don't know if this is a spoiler. It's probably not. But at the end of the game, it's a huge multiverse timeline climatic battle, like Avengers Endgame kind of shit. Like every character from different multiverses fighting each other. And I'll say this is a little bit of a spoiler, but you get to pick one of the characters. You can pick any of the original characters, and it changes. So you have a whole different story mode, a whole different cutscenes of how they look. So I picked Sub-Zero because he's my main always since day one. And so I had Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero became the main character of that last chapter. So it was that was kind of odd. It's kind of weird because Sub-Zero was a villain, pretty much. He becomes I'll spoil this. He becomes a villain. So having my character be a good guy at the end was kind of odd, but yeah. So
I'm just imagining that one person who picks Megan Fox, or Natara, and it's she's just suddenly the main character. despite
her acting was not great.
Barely doing it. Yeah.
Because
that blade is enchanted.
Because the dialogue was mostly great, and then when she comes on, hers is so bad that it looks even worse because the contrast is so bad. Because everybody else is good.
Usually
because everybody else is good.
She's usually not even she's usually not even that bad in movies and stuff either. She's not that bad. She's not great, but
yeah,
she's fine. Not as bad as this.
And
I don't know what happened here.
And
Another Ronda Rousey situation.
Exactly, and I think all the character interactions, in the cutscenes and stuff, are all amazing. And they've always done a great job with this. Before the fight starts, they all have these little one-liners they say to each other. They're all amazing. That's the best part.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And in terms of Reptile, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of Reptile, it's a pretty good year for him because he got a gig in Spider-Man 2 as well, right?
Right.
I knew that joke was coming.
He got a cameo.
I was gonna say Brother of the Lizard, notable Brother of the Lizard, but yeah, I'm glad James made the joke.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. I think you guys have anything more to ask me? We hit on everything.
Yeah.
How was your Friday?
Say it again.
How was your Friday?
I was alright. Very busy. But yeah, it's not worth $70. I would wait, but unless you're gonna play a lot online,
do you think it?
Then it's worth it.
Do you leave? Do you think give it another year and then when they have the ultimate edition with all the DLC and stuff for the basic $70 $60 price? Do you think it'd be worth it then, or with all the DLC
for
characters
$70
added in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I don't know about 70, maybe 50, but that's probably what it's gonna be anyway.
I mean, I'd probably get on discount for that anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it. I don't think $70. Any game's worth $70. A fighting game is probably worth $70 unless you're gonna play online a lot. If you play this game, there's people gonna play this game for 300 hours. So if you in that case, yes, absolutely. If you're just looking for the campaign and just casually get into the modes and stuff, then you can definitely wait.
Probably get 12 to 15 hours out of it, whereas you play the story,
exactly.
bit of the side stuff, bit of multiplayer, and then that's it.
I could have waited.
What most people are gonna do.
Yeah, I could have easily waited, but I always save up for my games. I knew this game was coming. I've been hyping this game up all year, so I'm gonna put more time into it. So yeah, for me, it was worth $70. I was happy. I didn't regret my purchase.
I don't know. I was. Because I was super hyped for when MK11 released. I thought all the launch trailer for MK11 where they had the remix of the Mortal Kombat, that whole song that was hype.
The trailer was amazing.
I never felt that for this game. Even for the story mode, I just didn't care for this game for some reason. Maybe it's just because like I'm not as into fighting games now. I don't know. Maybe it's just because of how I loved MK11 so much. I don't vibe with how this is. I don't know.
I'm excited. I was excited. I wasn't like hyped. Like I wasn't God of War Ragnarok hyped, but I was definitely.
Oh no. Yeah, but
it's been a good year for fighting games. I mean, Street Fighter. Street Fighter was amazing, and then this game is really good. So it's been a good year. So.
Definitely. It's been a great year.
It has an 84 on Metacritic, so.
And Tekken 8 comes out early next year, so it's a good time for getting the fighting games.
Let's just not talk about the Switch version.
Yeah.
Oh.
I wouldn't even touch. Yeah. I would. Why would you play any third-party game on a Switch? I never understood that.
Yeah, I don't even know why people are still trying to do that.
There's so much first-party games on the Switch that there's no reason to play third-party unless you're really committed to being your like unless you're like always traveling, like you're a truck driver or something. I don't understand why you would. I don't understand why you would want to play Mortal Kombat on Switch.
It takes me back to that era of like the PS3 360 era where it's like you'd have like the proper game on like PS3 360 PC, but then it's like for like Wii, PS2, DS, like they'd always have like it'd be like the same game, like the same game cover, but like they'd be completely different.
Absolutely.
Games entirely. Like it was. I mean, it was a lot of like superhero and like movie tie-in games, granted, but
even even the movie games.
It takes me back to that.
Yeah, like even the movie games, it'd be like 3 different versions of the different. Like the game wouldn't even be the same. It's not even an inferior version. Like they just straight up, it would straight up make a different game, and put the same name on it.
Yeah.
But let's move on now. I think we hit on everything. So let's talk about Liza P now. Now, for starters, I beat the game. I beat the game last week, and it's really good. It's one of my top 10 games of the year for now, anyway, because we still got Spider-Man.
Hang on, did you actually beat the game, or is that a lie?
No, I actually beat it.
Liza P, more like Liza Vest. Am I right, everybody?
Check my Xbox profile, but I did beat it on PC. Now, I want to say like I said, it's my top 10 game. This game is really, really, really hard. In fact, I think it's the second hardest Souls game I ever played, besides Sekiro. Sekiro's the first. I think Sekiro's harder. Sekiro's the harder. But this is up there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seb, I would cordially invite you to learn the new discipline of get good and parry lightning strikes, fool.
Oh, I beat the game, so yeah. I know. But it is really hard. You know, but I think it's hard because it's clunky. It doesn't play as good as it should too. Now they fixed it a little bit in the new patch, but I think the difficulty comes from the gameplay being a bit clunky. Like the parrying is still. I said this in the demo. The parrying was not great. I wish it just felt a little better. I feel like the enemies are way too fast. Sometimes they don't give you a chance to react. Like they just go way too freaking fast for you, unfairly. And the enemies just know where you're going, what you're doing way too much. They didn't make this game as difficult as they did. They could have scaled it down a little bit, in my opinion. I think the strong majority of people that play this game are not going to beat it. It's just too hard for most people. Even
Is that
for
a challenge? Because I'll do it.
Absolutely. Beat it. I'm tired of being the only one that beats these Souls games. No, it's fine. But did you? Who else beat Elden Ring? By the way, did anyone else beat it? Okay, so James. So we're on that level. So
Mitch didn't.
All right, so me and James are on Mount Olympus, and you guys can,
Yeah.
Hey, I mean the weather's fine down here. I'm good. My console is working, and my controllers are not broken, so I'm happy.
Well, we'll put Mitch over Dory because Mitch got the platinum in Resident Evil 4 and Doom Eternal and
Doom
Eternal.
I was just thinking about that the other day.
But no, I mean, I'm not a big Souls. I play a lot of Souls games, but I'm not like hardcore. Play new game plus 10. You know what I mean? Like people do. But it was really hard for me, and I was like frustrated with a lot of this game. But I think a lot of this frustration comes from the clunkiness. I don't think this game plays as great as it could, but it's still good. The gameplay is still good.
Yeah.
Where this game really shines is the setting and the atmosphere and the lighting. It's incredible. That's where it's Bloodborne, This is the Bloodborne 2.0 that we wanted for years. Like, if you, I don't know if did any of you beat Bloodborne? I don't think so, right? Have you played Bloodborne? I know Dory.
I played a little bit of Bloodborne. Did not enjoy it.
Okay. Well, to me, Bloodborne is like one of the greatest PlayStation games of all time, and this is the sequel we've always wanted, and I think it's very similar. This game is like a weird blend of Sekiro and Bloodborne. Like if I had to like describe it, it's like it has the parrying and all that. Not as fluid as Sekiro's parrying, but it's like similar gameplay. But the dodging is similar to Bloodborne in the atmosphere, and like it looks like Blood. If you just show like a screenshot of the game, it looks like Bloodborne. If you had no context, I think. But
it does actually. Like I saw a
Yeah.
YouTube thumbnail with the game of like one of the characters' outfits, and
Yeah.
I thought it was Bloodborne for like a solid 30 seconds.
especially
before realizing.
especially since like outside the first level where it's mostly like the dolls and the robots and all that, there's a lot of like monsters that are like demonic and mutant looking, like that looks very Souls like. So it has that vibe as well, and there's a lot of zombies in this game because people get infected by like the blue fairy stuff. I forget the name of it, and so like the enemies remind me a lot of The Last of Us, which is kind of funny. Like the zombies, because they all have this like fungus look to them, and they all run at you the same way like Last of Us does. So that's the vibe I was getting. This game has a lot of survival horror, not in the sense like the gameplay, but like it feels like a horror game in a lot of parts. The atmosphere, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The thing is, one of my biggest praises of it, and I think like quite a common praise that's been thrown around, is how kind of not shy it is about the fact that it is a Souls clone.
Yeah.
Like it knows it is, and it absolutely wears down its sleeve. Like
Exactly.
it makes changes in places,
Mhm.
but it doesn't try and change things just to be different.
Exactly.
It knows what works about FromSoft's games, and it uses those things.
Yep, exactly. If you're looking for innovation in the genre, this ain't the game. This game just is a tribute, but let me say it's the best non-From Software Souls game ever made at this point. I would say.
Like I feel I know where you're coming from, but I feel like calling it a tribute is a disservice.
Yeah,
because
I wouldn't say it's
it really does feel like it can go toe to toe with FromSoft's games.
Yeah. It's the best non-From Software game. It's not on the level of Bloodborne or Sekiro or Elden Ring for me, but it's in the tier under that. I don't know. It's hard to say because the Dark Souls games are really good too. It's all subjective, but the point is it's really good. But it's gonna be really hard for a lot of people though. Like I feel like like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Like I think Bloodborne is not a hard game at all for the most part. Like there's some parts that are hard, but the thing about Dark Souls and Bloodborne is that you can grind and max your guy out and like get really strong, and then you can just like 5-shot a boss and you get certain items. You know what I mean? But like with Sekiro and like this game, you have to get good. And I don't mean that like in the joking way. I like you legitimately have to be good at the game. If you can grind and get like level 100 or whatever, you're still gonna get your ass kicked because you have to know how to parry. You have to know how to dodge. You have to be good at the game for it to beat it. Like there's nothing you can do other than that. You're stuck.
But that's the great thing as well. It uses the innovations that FromSoft has made within their own genre in terms of like just getting rid of that punishment. Like they spawn you right outside the boss room, that kind of thing.
Yes, I love. That's one of my favorite things about this game is they put you right there. There's so many shortcuts, very rewarding shortcuts.
Very smart game design. I haven't got that far yet, even, but like I'm already seeing that.
Yeah.
But in terms of difficulty as well, it's like I personally actually find this and Sekiro easier than Bloodborne.
Really?
But that's because I've gone back and tried to play Bloodborne again, and the reason that I find it's difficult is not because of the game design or anything. It's just because of that 30 FPS. Because it's not even a normal 30 FPS. It's like it's something about it feels so slow.
Well,
and like
yeah.
You know,
well, to be fair,
it's like you're walking through quicksand.
Sure. And now I think the problem, no, it's not a problem, but the thing about Bloodborne is that the beginning is so hard. There's a huge difficulty spike right in the beginning, and the game gets easier after that. because they throw a lot of enemies at you right off the bat. I think a lot of people struggle with Bloodborne because the beginning is so difficult. But like, unless you get the spear, if you get the spear, you can just like you can just spam like the right R2 button and just like wipe out everybody. But like the beginning's so hard. But once you get like the Ludwig blade, I think it's what it's called, the Ludwig blade. That game became easy as fuck. I was just flying through it. Where that game got really hard for me was the Chalice dungeons, which were optional, but you had to do it for the platinum, and that was like, oh my god, this is hard. But like the main story though, nothing. It was one of the easiest Souls games. Elden Ring too. Elden Ring is a hard game on the surface, but like Elden Ring overall was not mostly that hard. Like it's still hard, really, really hard, but not like in comparison to these games hard. If that makes sense. It's casual. It's more casual friendly for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
This game, no. This game is hardcore to the hardcore. Like this is a gamer's game, as I always like to say, gamer's game, because like if you're not accustomed to like the dodging and parrying and building the proper weapon and the stats and all that, you're gonna get your ass kicked. You have to be prepared. But it's forgiving in terms of like the shortcuts, and the checkpoints are right there. Like the what do you call them? What do you call them? Thing in the souls, like the campfires,
Yeah.
whatever they.
Campfires? Yeah. I know what you're
I
talking
forget
about.
what they're like.
I'm blanking for some reason, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what
Yeah.
you mean. They have a unique thing
Yeah.
in this game that fits into the universe
Yeah,
and all that.
and you can
Like,
teleport
have to
anywhere. That's
Yeah, it's a thing you have to repair.
I
yeah.
do have 2 questions about this game, Seb.
Mhm.
Maybe they'll incur spoilers. I don't know. Can you get turned into a donkey? And is
No.
there a giant whale?
No and no.
What?
There's no giant whale that you can fight. Like no giant whale
No.
monster.
It's not a
Fucking
Hideo
dick.
Kojima game.
She means monstro, but I don't. No, there's no whale in this one,
No,
and there's no donkey focus either. Like there's that guy that fights you like on the bridge, like really early in the game. Like he's like a
Yeah.
mini boss, but
I
other
think
than
it's like a
that,
donkey outfit or something, right? I think Marvel was showing a video.
when you
of that.
when you beat him, you get his mask and his outfit.
right, that's
yeah,
right.
it doesn't give you anything. It just the thing about there's no like the costumes in this game don't do anything. They just for look.
Yeah.
But the costume design is really cool. It gives me like Alice Madness vibes. Have you ever played
Yeah.
that? This game, that's what this
Well,
game
I know
reminds me
about
of, is the Alice games. If you guys ever played the Alice Madness games, they're amazing, dark versions of Alice in Wonderland, and they need to bring that series back. By the way, this game is like a Souls version of that. That's the best way I can describe it. Now there is a system in this game of truth and lie, and it does change the storyline. There's different endings and stuff, so depending on what you do, if you lie a lot, like the portrait in the hotel is gonna have like a nose sticking out of the portrait and stuff like that.
So they mix Pinocchio with Oscar Wilde a little bit.
Yeah,
Portrait of Dorian Gray.
pretty much. And then and you can get a really good ending and a really bad ending and things like that. Even I think I got the good ending, but it was still kind of bad. It had a very like evil vibe to it. It was very sinister. I could tell you like another like in the chat if you don't care, but it had like a very sinister vibe to it, and it kind of sequel baits. I don't know if they're gonna do a sequel, but it kind of does. It's kind of because there's like an actual story after the credits that like it's kind of like there's something coming up. So I don't know if they're gonna do that, but I don't think that's a spoiler, but it does sequel bait. And then what else? This game is very linear, extremely linear. There is like hubs you can like not hubs, but there's the maps you can explore a bit, but it all leads to like point A to point B, pretty much. Like every bonfire is the name bonfire. When you get every boss, you beat the boss. There's a bonfire right there, and then after the boss, there's pretty much just a door right there. And you just go straight, and then it's the next area. So this game is extremely linear in that sense. The whole game is point A, point B, and also you can teleport everywhere, like I said. So if you want to go back and do something else, you can teleport literally to any bonfire in the entire game. So that was really cool at any time. And then also you can customize your weapons, which is really cool. You can like mix and match the weapons. You can combine one handle with one blade or whatever you want, and do all these combinations, which are really, really cool. you can have a custom arm that does all different things. I had a more of like a fire build for me, but other people might have like a shock build or whatever. So everybody can have a wholly different character that looks different, that plays different. I would recommend not playing this game with the heavy build because this game is a lot of dodging in this game, and when you're a heavy build, you get your ass kicked. Like you're just too slow, I think, because there's some things you can't parry. There's sometimes you just have to dodge, and if you're slow as hell, you're gonna get ran over. So I won't recommend playing this game on a heavy build, and which is a shame because because the heavy build has like the big sword you can carry on your back, and it looks really cool. But yeah, I don't recommend that. That's like the hard mode, I would say. Yeah. What else? Any other questions you guys have?
Not for me.
No.
Okay. James, you have anything more to you want to talk
What's
about?
the capital of Poland?
I don't know.
Warsaw? Is it Warsaw?
Is it Warsaw?
It's Warsaw.
Okay.
Nah, let's go. Why the fuck do I know that? I don't know.
Why do you know that?
I don't know. For some reason, I was like, "Oh, it's Warsaw, isn't it?" I don't know why the hell I knew that.
But yeah, it's a top 10 game of the year for me. It's like number 9. Now it might get kicked out if Spider was because Valve might get Spider-Man good, but it might make my top 10. That's another topic for another day, but it is that good.
At least a strong honorable mention, Seb.
Hell yeah.
Exactly. It's an 8.5 if I had to grade it. It's not a 9 because it's not a 9 or a 9.5 or a 10. It's not in that category because there's too much clunkiness with the gameplay. The difficulty spikes are because, well, first of all, there's too much difficulty spikes in this game. Like I said, the enemies are way too fast. It's like almost like not meant for humans to play. It's like the computer is just way too more advanced than us to play. Like it makes it very unfair in some parts, and like especially the ending.
This is how it starts the downfall of humanity
Exactly.
due to AI.
Yeah, making games too hard. I'm not even joking. Like the ending, like the last section was like they just throw so much at you, and it's like, oh my god, like it's. Thank God there's a lot of bonfires everywhere because it's ridiculous. But and a lot of the difficulties because of the clunkiness of the gameplay. So that gameplay keeps it from being like a masterpiece, but it's still a quality, great game. 8.5. Definitely recommend it. It's on Game Pass. It's on PlayStation. Full price. I think it's like $60. I would just say wait. Unless you really want to play a Souls game, but it's on Game Pass. I played it on PC. I had no crashes. Frame rate was amazing. Looked very smooth. No issues. Like it was very good on PC.
Nice.
Yeah. So I recommend it on PC if you really want the best version of the game. But I think the PS5 version plays really well as well. So, or Series X. So, definitely recommend. But only if you're looking for a hardcore game, because this game is gonna piss you off. And how long did it take me to beat it? Very skill dependent. This is about 35 to 50 hours.
Oh wow!
Depending on your skill, it could be less than that. To me, it was like 32 to 35.
I think that's kind of par for the course for a Souls game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Outside Elden Ring, because that's open world. That's usual. That's normal.
It's like an 8-hour game, but it takes longer because of the difficulty.
Exactly.
Right.
Dark Souls can be beaten in like an hour, 25 minutes. No, like 25 minutes if you're a speedrunner. Like those games are all skill dependent. Like if you know exactly where to go and you can just like beat all the enemies in the first try, those games are like 10 hours. But if like but obviously our first time we get our ass kicked the entire time. That like no one, unless you're like even the best Souls players, you got to learn the patterns and everything. So no one just flies through these games first try. So this is like 35 hours. So yeah, let's move on to our last topic. Our last topic of the night, which is Separate Ways, the DLC for Resident Evil 4 Remake, which all of us I think has in our top 5 game of the year. So we were excited, especially Dory and I. We were definitely excited for Separate Ways. We were asking for this for so long at this point.
Yep.
Since before the game even came out.
Right. because before we get into the remake, I remember the original one, and the original one had a really cool thing like the grappling hook and
Yep.
and all like I love just the connection.
Which is still
Leon.
the best part of this DLC. Sorry to get ahead of ourselves, but
Exactly.
still the best part of this DLC.
And like the original one, I love just like the intermixing of the story, like seeing Leon on the side just doing stuff and like
so cool.
I love it. I just love that kind of stuff.
Just a different perspective on the situation.
Exactly.
That you think you know.
Yeah.
Have you played the DLC, James?
No, I have not.
No,
Hence
okay.
the yo-yo.
Yeah. it's a metaphor
so-
for something. I just can't figure out what.
Now,
Metaphor for boredom. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah.
so the gameplay, like Dory mentioned, has a grappling hook, which is used a lot, and then
Yes.
Yes.
and it's really good. I mean, it's typical. Press the X button to do something or whatever it is. I think it's R1 or something. The gameplay is pretty much the Resident Evil 4 remake. It plays the same. It's not. It's, And I don't think it was that difficult. It was pretty easy mostly. It was like the original, like standard difficulty. So.
I mean, I played it. I played it on hardcore because why not?
Nah, I wouldn't do that.
Early on I died a lot.
Hardcore.
Not to the point of not to like more than I did on the base Resident Evil 4. Actually, surprisingly enough, like I feel like the hardcore on that one, even like from a new playthrough, it's manageable to an extent. Whereas like with separate ways, obviously because they assume that you've already played the main game, they throw a lot of harder enemies at you earlier on.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Which means that
yeah, go ahead.
like obviously by the time you I think like one of the very first combat encounters is they give you like one of those like tanky like cow enemies with like the massive hammers and stuff, and like a bit later on they have both Dr. Salvador and one of like the chainsaw sister twins, whatever.
That's
and
right,
it's like by the time they showed up in the main game, you were already equipped enough, but because they show up so much earlier on, you don't have nearly enough resources or upgrades invested. Like I don't think I actually met the I was about to call him the collector, the merchant, until like an hour in.
Yeah, you do. You don't
at least.
You take about an hour.
Yeah, I was surprised. They hold back on the merchant for quite a bit. You don't meet him for
No.
30, 45 minutes.
I found it difficult. Like not in the beginning. Like the first section with the cannons were pretty easy because I thought there was so much like ways to jump around and get away from the enemies. But some parts I realized like if I just run away instead of fighting everything, I actually do better. Like because there's some parts of it like they just throw like every big enemy at you.
Yeah.
Because they expect you to be an expert at like the game at this point because it's DLC, of course.
Yeah.
Because the Resident Evil likes to do that now with the DLC. Like they like to do like oh, you know this section, you know this section, you know this enemy, you know this enemy. Let's just throw them all at you in a linear space and make it really hard for no reason.
Yes.
Just because you know the DLC, because you know the like the regenerator section, right? Like when you're in the library, the laboratory part. That part was legitimately scary. Like you're dark and the regenerators are like chasing you. That was
I had
good.
a super fun. So before I forget, I had this super funny moment with the regen section. So I'm shuffling around. You know, I don't have a lot of bullets left. You know, I've been trying to save ammo, and I've been trying to only fight the regenerators if I have to. Although I want the rubies, so I'm being a little greedy at the same time. I'm trying to balance. And I hear the regen. I hear it's breathing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go a little bit forward into this room, and I'm gonna get the drop on it. I crouch. I start inching forward, and I literally have a fucking Looney Tunes-esque moment where the breathing's right next to me, and I'm like, the fuck? And I look up. And he's right there. I literally screamed and I ran. It was so fucking funny. I was like, ah! So that was great. That was fantastic. But yeah, this is a great, really great DLC. Just to get into it a little bit. I mean, the gameplay is pretty much the same, but I love what they do with the different scenarios. I love that you get to see a little bit more of Luis. And get to explore a little bit more of his character and stuff like that.
I would say a lot, really. There's a whole story. They gave
he's one of the basically one of the main characters of the DLC, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they redo and remix some of the puzzles in really interesting and cool ways. Yeah, I mean it's It's really fun. I will say, the elephant in the room here for me is her voice acting. I don't like her voice acting. It sounds very wooden and uncaring, and I know some people were like harassing her about that, and fuck that, but I don't think that means that you shouldn't be able to call it out. Like, it's not good, and it just sounds in the main game I can forgive it, right? Because the main focus isn't on Ada. I speed ran Resident Evil like 3 or 4 times, and like if you skip cutscenes, you almost never hear Ada's voice at all. So it didn't really bother me. But like in this game, in this game, it's really bad. I hate saying that. I wanted to give it a fair shot, but it just sounds like she doesn't care.
Especially when Ada is such a great character and she has so many great lines in the original games and stuff. Like, it's a real shame.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a real shame. That's the only thing that drops down. Like, I would otherwise say like this is like an excellent DLC, but like that drops it down.
I have a couple of things negative things.
Just quickly on the acting. I was a lot more, maybe not forgiving, but like I was a lot more lenient towards her acting in the main game, because like for what I now realize is just like kind of like lack of emotional input. I kind of took as like maybe like a dry kind of sense of humor, like maybe she was kind of approaching it in that way. But now playing the DLC where she's literally the main character, who's like constantly speaking almost. Yeah, like she's the Gal Gadot of the Resident Evil franchise. They just keep fucking bringing Ada back, but the actor just has very little range at all.
Yeah. As far as I know, too, Mitch and I were talking about this on the Discord. Sorry, Seven, then you can go. But I think it was some fucking union thing where they didn't like the union that the old Ada voice had or something like that.
Yeah, that's what happened.
But like also they had used this voice for Welcome to Raccoon City or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, she cameoed in the movie as Ada.
Right.
For like
so I don't know exactly what's going on there, but I hope they bring RE2 Ada back. Oh, and also obviously one last thing, they are definitely teasing the fuck out of RE5.
Oh,
which I feel mixed up on.
Now
I'm so excited. Well, I'm less excited about maybe some problematic commercials, but I'm more excited for the co-op.
We might as well just talk about Resident Evil 5 remake now, since we're on the topic. Wesker was really cool. I loved Wesker. I loved his new design.
Have you guys played Resident Evil 5 remake already?
Yeah,
that's right.
Where you been?
Yeah.
It's 2025.
Saturation
it's 2025 right now.
Punch the boulders. We're already there.
He says the thing. He says global saturation.
I know. He said local saturation.
Yeah.
He said it so angrily too. He's like, not global saturation, only local saturation.
We've been talking about Resident Evil 5 the whole time. I don't know where you were, James.
That's right. Obviously.
But he reminded me of.
He's talking about. He's thinking of Resi 6 remake. He's gone too far ahead.
Don't encourage them.
We're secretly from the future, and we've never told James until now.
There's a good game there if they just make it like a Leon campaign only thing. But Resident 6,
the game tried to be too many things at once. But anyway,
Wesker looked great.
RE5.
Yo, Wesker looked great. I love his like new design. It reminded me of like older Virgil, which I really like. The Resident Evil engine looks amazing.
Yes. Oh, I love it. RE engine, honestly, low-key, is probably one of the best engines around right now. It looks so gorgeous. Models look so good. Like, it's always been really good.
And the game's always just like they feel great to play. Like, aside from like maybe RE7, but that was kind of intentional there. Like, they always feel great to play.
Even then, that was fine.
Like all the RE, yeah. Like it was intentional in RE7 for the most part. Yeah. I really like his new voice actor as well. Like he perfectly fits the tone of like the remakes.
Yeah, I agree. Nothing will ever top the Resident Evil 0 Wesker or the Umbrella Chronicles Wesker. Like that voice was perfect.
Well, it was a different actor between.
They changed it like 5 times.
RE5, right? It was a different actor for RE5.
They changed the voice actor. Like Wesker has like 5 different voice actors. So yeah.
Yeah. Like I remember like the remake Wesker, and being like, he's a bit boring, but whatever.
We all expected a 5 remake at this point. I mean, it's kind of rumored, and
you will give me the end.
They've got to be doing. I mean, like, surely they have to be, if anything. It like beside like I mean obviously I want new games, but like if they had to do remakes, they've got to do Code Veronica.
I know.
It just makes sense. It makes sense. It makes the most sense.
I'm sorry, I'm not playing the original, so they are either remaking it or I'm never
Code
playing
Veronica
Code Veronica.
is one of the greatest Resident Evil games, but it feels like a good time to do that because like you can set up Wesker's like the storyline before Resident Evil 5 because Code Veronica goes right into Resident Evil 5. It's like
they have to know that fans are wanting it. It's all I fucking hear about. It's all that they want.
Oh, they know, but
I mean, it'll mean that they have more time between the original RE5 and the remake, so they can still milk as many RE5 original sales as possible.
Sure, but but they know Resident Evil 5 sold so highly that like. I think it was the highest selling Resident Evil game, Capcom game ever until Monster Hunter, and and they've seen the dollar sign, so they're not going to do Code Veronica.
I don't know. Like,
I don't think they're going to do Code Veronica.
I mean, if anything, I feel like if they do Code Veronica, it's going to be like another like. James, just beware of a jump scare. Another RE3 situation, where,
but not even
where it's like you have like RE2, which is like the big tentpole remake, which like where all the resources and funding goes into, and then you have RE3, which is like or Code Veronica in this case, which is like a bit smaller. Reuse some models and textures and stuff, and then you have like RE5, which is like the big.
Well, I wouldn't say that because I think Code Veronica is a mainline game. That is Resident Evil 3 is a side game.
It deserves.
He's just saying the way that they'll remake
it deserves that.
Going to be more RE3.
Code Veronica just needs like the full on focus. Like you can't make that the side.
Yeah, it does.
Resident Evil 3 remake kind of thing. But not only that, the elephant in the room is I don't know what you do with the cross dressing thing because like that's a big part of the Code Veronica. You can't do that.
That's the thing. They have to.
I don't know how you change that because that's an important part of the story. So
yeah,
they would have to figure that out.
I'm honestly surprised that's like not more vocally recognized among the fandom. That's like probably the reason why they haven't touched that yet is because of how controversial that is.
Honestly, I mean, just literally get trans people to like consult on it, or just I don't know, literally you get.
I mean, maybe
it's not like I beat this game like 10 times. It's not like
I don't know the context. I didn't play Veronica,
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know if they're like cross-dressing equals trans stuff, and
it doesn't. It's not problematic in the sense that like it makes fun of anything. It's just that he pretends to be his sister. Because he's like there's something wrong with him, and that's it. It's kind of like it's more like Psycho when he dresses as his mom kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's not meant to be like
perpetuates that same.
Yeah. Okay, so it's like people cross dress FMSO.
And Claire also has the line you cross dressing freak. So it's probably
that's
not gonna be great. Okay.
I think if Final Fantasy VII remake can handle that well.
Yeah, you could do it. It's just you have to do it very.
I thought
careful.
7 Remake did it well. Yeah.
I mean, it's like 7 Remake though it was like more in like a
Sorry, that was.
It was more like it was more like in a celebratory or like it's like it was meant to like the cross dressing in that game was like meant to be like something like it was the characters like celebrating like doing something whatever. I think I remember, but like in Resident Evil because it's a horror game. Contextually, it's inherently different.
But like
they don't that makes sense.
They don't have to do that. They like
you can do something. You can figure it out.
Like, but there are ways they could like they can rewrite it and they can like it.
I mean, to be completely
it's not front and center either. It's not the main part of the game. It's not like that.
No, I mean to be completely honest. They can realistically they can still like keep the plot point of like that Alfred or whatever his name is like mentally he like kind of like thinks that he's his sister. You just remove the cross-dressing aspect of it and it stays the same really.
Yeah.
That like it's not as integral to it, but like I can understand why at least some people like if it is a reason at all, maybe they just straight up don't care about Code Veronica regardless. But like,
I think that's more what it is.
Don't want to touch it because it's
I think it's
which is a shame.
It's a Dreamcast game, and then the PS2 version is popular, but it just never was. I mean, it's hard to say because games sell way more nowadays, but it's just hard. I don't know. I don't know what the reason is.
That and like I mean like especially when Code Veronica X came out.
Yeah.
It's not like it was a financial failure. At least from what I remember reading, like it's not. It did fine. It didn't do anywhere near as well as the original
probably what it
games,
is,
but
yeah.
it did fine. Yeah.
It didn't sell well as the PS1 original trilogy.
No.
I think that's what really kills it.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, Capcom definitely regrets the Dreamcast era. That's
Plus,
Yeah, you think?
plus, there's so much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of goofiness in it too.
Honestly,
but-
probably they fucking regret the Genesis more than anything. But yeah.
Plus, there's like
Genesis, Dreamcast. Yeah.
I wonder how they would do. Like it's kind of a weird point too, but I wonder how they would do the nudity because Alexia is like nude a lot in the game, and like, but even when she's a monster, like
You just put up black bars.
I mean,
it's fine. You just put up black bars everywhere. More bars in more places.
it's not bad because it's like Dreamcast graphics, but like when you're like we have the RE engine now, I'm curious how they would do that. No,
I mean, yeah.
that's just something you gotta think about when you
Yeah.
make these games because like 2023 is just it's a different era than like 99. So
Yeah, for sure.
2000.
I mean, like that. I mean, even like as early as like 2000, like a decade ago with RE6, they had pretty much the same thing, if not even more
yeah.
graphic. It's like, you know, in Veronica, like if I remember, she had like her hair or tendrils or something, you know, like covering like the parts of the body that need to be censored.
Yeah.
Whereas in RE6, it's just like, no, just full body nudity. We'll just like take out all like the genitalia and orifices and stuff.
Yeah.
Look, as long as they keep the zombie dinosaur, I'm happy.
Like Attack on Titan, basically.
Yeah. But back to separate
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
The Lewis part was really great. Like the storyline with her, like right from the beginning, they do like a little dance, like that was like really funny.
Yeah.
And the hallucination thing was really cool too. Like
Yeah.
go ahead.
Speaking on Luis, did anybody else pick up on the fact that like Wesker just called him Lewis? Everyone else called him Luis, but Wesker
always
just
say
called
Lewis.
him Lewis.
I think I always said.
Oh
Lewis.
no! So I noticed this too. I've never talked about this, but I totally should. So, Ada and Ashley are both say Louise, but
Yeah.
I believe Leon and Wesker say Lewis.
Yeah.
So I know who the
okay.
real fucking villains are here. I'm just saying.
Leon.
Canceled.
That includes you too, Seb.
Leon's canceled.
Yeah.
Leon is
Yeah.
canceled.
No. What else? Yeah. So the
That wall.
the hallucination stuff was pretty cool. I got tedious at some parts. I got those little silly. I got.
Yeah.
It felt like DC. It felt like DLC kind of stuff. Like, oh, we have to like amp it up. So let's
Cut it out.
let's do a million Vertigos coming right at you. Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That was a bit much.
It was cool in the beginning, then it got a little
I'm
old.
glad I figured out all on my own. I mean, maybe it's not that much of a revelation because Resident Evil Revelations. But maybe it's not that much of a revelation. But like the flash grenade like makes them all go away, which I figured out all on my own.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Of course.
My thing,
no,
though-
that makes sense.
My problem with the DLC, I mean, it was really good, but my problem with the DLC mainly was that there were some parts in it that just like felt like DLC with the point, like let's just shove a bunch of hard shit at you, like in the small hallway.
Yeah.
Like the maze
Yeah.
part was annoying. When you get chased by all those knights with the plagas, and they lock you in this one little room.
Oh fuck that guy in the red! Oh my god, he was so fucking annoying. That part I really disliked because it was so tedious to try to get. I'm like, I can't wait till speedrunners break this part of the game in particular, just for my own sick sense of satisfaction.
The worst part was the night part when you're shoved in this little room. And, like, all the knights wake up with the parasites in their head, and like there's like
I knew exactly where that shit was going.
there's no room like to move.
Yeah.
It was so hard. I mean, I didn't die at that part
Artificially,
actually, but it was but I barely I lost all my ammo in that part.
Yeah, I lost. So surprisingly I didn't die either. But there's no way to get out earlier, so you're just stuck there fighting them. I'm like, this is fucking tedious.
And then you have the people shooting arrows at you at the same time.
Yeah, which is like, come on, guys, I don't need fucking.
They did that in the original too, which was
peanut
really
gallery.
annoying.
Like, goddamn.
Yeah. The I think the thing that the El Gigante fight, that literally took me down to my very last bullet to kill him.
same.
I had several points in the DLC where I'm like, well, I'm fucked. Like, that's it for me. I'm dead. And I would like win at like the last moment or like my last bullet or some shit.
But
like
they always
that.
give you a lot of ammo right after.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
We all had the same experience because I had the same problem. Like after the El Gigante fight, I was like, no ammo.
I was almost
exactly.
every single house that had gotten smashed too. I think there was just one house standing. and that was
Yeah,
it.
yep,
Or maybe
that was the
all of
exact
them.
same.
had,
I
don't remember.
spammed the R1 button. I just kept flying on the building, flying on the building, flying on the
fucking
building.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I fucking.
He didn't even
during
touch
that
me.
Cutscene,
That whole fight.
I was like during that cutscene, I was like, I'm Spider-Man too.
Plus, although I also know from like the original that like if you shoot the parasite with the rifle, like instead of like always going for the knife thing, you kind of just.
Yeah.
But like you couldn't do that with this one as much. They kind of it felt more scripted with the knife.
I will say the Sadler fight
Yeah.
was really tough. That was the fight I
It
died
was.
on the most. That Sadler
Oh,
fight
really?
was fucking
Ah,
tough.
Oh, I didn't have.
I,
problems with
me,
that one.
it wa- I
anyway.
mean I didn't die on it as much, but I do agree that like when he like shot all the bullets back to you, the
So
thing
fast.
the thing that annoys is because when they're crouched, they still kind of like sort of like float up and down at all. The hit, like I was like standing on like the other side, like that altar. I was crouched on the other side of the altar,
Yeah.
and then Sadler still like I had like a sliver of health left, and because like Ada was like kind of like bouncing up and down slightly, the hit like it still registered
Yeah.
on my hitbox, so I died, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
I wouldn't say it was easy,
That-
but I
It
think
was a good fight though, yeah.
I think I just kind of
Yeah.
like not spam. I always use the one of the pillars. Like all the pillars were like
I
can
will
dodge-
also
you can
say
dodge
that
everything pretty much.
The part where you throw
Yeah.
the rocket launcher to Leon did feel a little stretched out. It felt like
Yeah.
the stuff with the tentacles where you have to shoot the eyes so you can keep
yeah. That, I
going.
didn't like that part. either.
I felt like that, especially after not killing Sadler, but defeating Sadler. It felt like a downgrade.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I should have just
Plus-
had a cutscene and that was it.
I hate when games do this, especially Resident Evil. Resident Evil is notorious for this.
Yeah.
Like, why did Sadler just not kill her? Why do you have to like tie her up? Like, I hate that. It feels so cliche.
that
Just
didn't make
kill
any
her.
sense. She just fucking whipped his ass, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'm gonna tie her up."
Yeah.
Like, what? No,
That's-
Resident Evil always does that. It bothers me.
fetish. Fetish is
was-
the
it was-
only explanation for. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be like not PG here, but fetish is the only explanation for this shit. Because what are we doing?
Same thing with Leon. I mean,
The only-
Leon could have died like 5 minutes
big-
in the story. Like they always kept Leon alive. Like they would just,
Yes.
they'd always tie him up or knock him out. Just kill his ass.
Because
Sadler
that's
could have
the
killed
great
Leon like
potential.
Sadler could have killed Leon like 20 times in Resident Evil 4.
I know,
Mm.
so ridiculous.
There,
Yeah.
there were moments in this where I felt like
So cliche.
there are moments in here where I felt like it really did feel clear, like they wrote the original RE4 remake like as it on its own first, and then it's like it wasn't until like much later on that they're like, oh yeah, we should probably do separate ways as well. So like some of the ways they like integrated Ada into the campaign, I mean obviously, you know, when they weren't just straight up borrowed from the original separate ways, the ways they were like there's like multiple moments where it's like Ada would just like progress along the same path as Leon, and then like she just arrived before him, so he's like, oh, someone's coming, so she just like freaking like just like she's just hiding in like on the roof or like
She's
in the
fucking
shadows
Batman. She pulls
So,
a Batman
yeah.
on Leon so many goddamn times. I'm like, poor.
And it's
Commissioner
like-
Gordon
it's like
slash
this-
Leon.
But yeah, it's like it's multiple times where it's like it felt like it's less a story reason specifically as to why he had to be there, but it's more like, all right, well, like there's this cutscene where she's in this room with Leon in the main game, so we have to like, kind of find a way to get her into
Yeah.
the same room as Leon. Like it didn't feel as organic as I was expecting. Like I haven't
Yeah.
played the original separate ways either, mind you, so I don't have a comparison. But like some of the like kind of integrations back into the main campaign felt a little forced. Granted, like for every like one or two of those instances, there's like at least like 3 or 4 or 5 moments where it's like there are some really cool like connecting moments between this and the main game.
Yeah.
Like when you actually see like Ada and Luis doing like the call, like them, you see them on the other end while they're giving Leon those calls.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And also just like, I mean, the thing I don't get, like it's a problem with all RE games at this point, but it's like the thing I don't get is like how they completely like shift the environment just to block off you from accessing certain areas that like
Yeah.
like, you know, like I think like in the courtyard in like the maze or outside of the maze, it's like completely blocked off where you'd like enter from like
Yeah.
the main castle area.
All
But
these
it's like
fucking
Leon only just
convenient
passed
little,
through
like,
here like
piles of
5
rocks
minutes
that-
ago. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I also
Exactly.
I liked some of the consistencies. I did look for some consistencies, and like in the like the shotgun is gone in one of the houses in the villas. Like if you look for the shotgun
Yes.
where the shotgun is normally, it's just gone. There's no I better
Yes.
leave this for Leon like in the original, which is also cool. I mean that's
Yeah.
another great.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is kind of weird though. She's like, how are you leaving? whatever. Anyway, it works a little better like this. Leon's ahead of her. Whatever.
Plus Wesker is actually there. Like in the original game, he's just sitting.
I was surprised
he's sitting
about
in a
that,
master
yeah.
computer.
Yeah, I'm surprised he showed up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because like I remember seeing in the trailer, like there was that scene where like he was pointing the gun at Ada. I was fully expecting that to be like a hallucination because of the plaga. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's how they get Wesker to be in it. But no,
I was a little bummed
He's
you don't
there.
fight Krauser at all.
I don't.
Right?
I was.
No, you
I
don't.
mean, like.
Don't you
Again,
fight him? You fight him
no.
in the original, right on the
original,
tower, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of brief
Yeah.
though.
It's
maybe.
not a boss fight though. It's kind of like an encounter. That's it.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
this game had a lot of like references to the original Resident Evil 4. Like everything they took out of the remake, they put it in this one. Did you guys
Yes.
realize that?
Yeah, they put the bulldozer back that fucking comes at you.
The
with the drill and
bulldozer.
stuff like
They did that whole
Yep.
like section where you're
Oh,
on
right,
the,
yeah.
the zip line thing and
Yeah, when you're on the
Gondolas,
zip
yeah,
line,
they
yeah,
got
yeah.
it because they took that out. Yeah, they brought that back. They brought everything they took out. They put it back in.
When Ada was like,
I think
sorry, you need a ticket or something. I'm like, shut the fuck up,
Yeah.
Ada. Oh my god.
the
you suck.
only thing that still I think is like the big thing that's still left out of from the original is just the maze thing with the U3. Which
yeah, that too. They
is
brought him
probably
back.
the
Yeah,
most
they did take
memorable,
that-
or
I'm
like the
glad they
hanging
took
maze
that
thing.
out,
Yeah.
honestly.
They got rid of the maze part, which I'm
that was
happy
the
about.
most-
That part was annoying.
I
Yeah, that was the
actually
most-
fucking
it was
decimated
annoying.
U3 because I had been saving up my my explosive bow
same.
explosive ammunition. I just fucking let him
Yep.
have it, and then I was like, I won. Seconds, Greek choir music starts playing. Oh, what the fuck! And then I had to fight his fucking tail, which is new.
Yeah.
That was cool. I didn't expect that.
I found I actually had trouble with the second part just because I didn't know what to do at first. Like I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And then
I was
well,
struggling
I mean,
a little
once
bit.
I started dodging, then it was fine. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
because if you die at the second part,
I-
they made you do the first part again, which was
No, do they?
How-
yeah.
Oh,
Really?
fuck that! I'm so glad I
Oh,
never
good
died.
then.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like so close to losing.
I didn't even die.
losing-
I restarted the checkpoint because I wanted to like I was like cause when I play these games I'm always like I didn't like how that went. I don't want to waste all my ammo
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
I'll
I
reset.
did do that
Yeah.
a couple times where I
But-
like completely fucked up an encounter and I was like, nah,
Yeah.
fuck
Nah.
this, and I just like hit the restart
Because
button. Or
you're
whatever.
better
Yeah.
off doing that because then you're stuck with like a shitty scenario all for the rest of the game where you're stuck with no
Yeah,
ammo,
yeah,
no
yeah.
health. It's better just to
For sure.
do it
Mm.
again. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
that was a cool fight though.
How long did it actually take you guys to beat it? Because it took me just under 5 hours. Like I think 4 hours 40.
Yeah,
22
I think it was
minutes.
4:15, 4.5.
Yeah,
something like that.
About
Yeah.
the same. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
You
That like
could
for
probably beat this game.
$10.
I can't
Yeah.
wait until speedrunners break this apart because you can probably beat this game in an hour.
Probably already
maybe
have.
two. Oh, okay.
I haven't checked any of them out
Yeah.
yet. It probably already
Yeah,
was.
that's true. I haven't painted. I'm part of the RE4 speedrunning Discord, and I haven't the speedrunning Discord. I mean, and I haven't checked out any separate ways. But I'm so torn because I would love to speedrun this game on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like I feel like this is a Miles Morales Spider-Man 2018 situation.
Yeah.
But like, even though this is a much shorter game, I'd probably rather do the main game because.
Yeah.
And I know this is bad again. I feel bad for saying this, but voice actress, it's just really bad. And like, even if
Yeah.
you skip a lot of the cutscenes, you still have to hear her talk. It's
Yeah.
not like she's not
Yeah.
terrible, but it's just I don't know. I wouldn't want to listen to it over and over again.
It just
for a
wouldn't.
speedrun.
Nah.
It just
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Especially since Ada is
It
such
is.
an iconic Resident Evil character, and she's such a
I
she
know,
has like
it
the
sucks.
suave like spy voice. Like she's such like charming
I mean, it's like-
character, and they kind of butcher her whole character just because the voice acting's so mediocre to bad. So
It's like part of me wants like does want her back to like give her another shot, but it's like because I feel like I don't know how to describe it, like just her tone of voice, like how raspy it is. I think it fits Ada, but she just the emotion isn't.
I blame the
there.
direction.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, there's no way they didn't hear it and
yeah.
think like that. Oh, that was good. Like there's no way. Like
Yeah.
they must have just not cared or something with the union. I don't know. There's no way someone listened to that and thought, oh yeah, great take. Let's move on. There's no way.
Yeah.
It feels intentional. So
Fun fact on the length of the DLC. In the length of time, according to Mitch, that it takes to complete the DLC, you could listen to the song "Separate Ways" by Journey roughly 50 times.
best Journey song, by the way. I love it. That's
It
my
is a really
that's my
great
go-to
song.
karaoke song.
James made this joke in the fucking Discord, which really got me, where he was like, "Oh, I'm not feeling separate ways so far," and I was like, "Oh, well, that's a bummer. Like, I'm really enjoying it so far." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know. Like, the music video is just kind of weird, and like, there's this guy, and I'm like, oh, you motherfucker."
Although I remember the original being longer, but but I'm going off memory from like way back.
I feel like it was shorter.
Was it shorter? I mean, I remember I remember there being more tedious sections in the original. Like I remember like this whole section like with the tractor.
Did y'all try the mercenary stuff? I know they updated that.
I played it a little bit with Wesker.
I have played so much mercenaries.
Okay. I'm to the
main reason being,
take it away.
I'm not sure if you guys know, but if you get either S plus or S plus plus with all characters on all stages, you get the RPD outfit for Leon for the main game.
Oh,
I knew that. Yeah.
That's cool. I guess.
I wouldn't do that,
but yeah, also.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
I've done everyone and everything for the village stage. I'm like doing like the second castle one now, so I'm making my way through it. But oh my god,
how does Wesker play?
So
is Wesker like really fun?
So good. He's so good.
Yeah,
he like you. Literally, the only downside is that because he doesn't have a knife, like, because he has like you just press L1, he counters any attack, even like chainsaws from like
Jesus,
Dr. Salvador and stuff. He just counters people, and like it's so devastating. And like
he
can cover so much ground so quickly. It's so good. The only downside is that because he doesn't have a knife, you can't like sort of like quickly pull out the knife to like destroy boxes and stuff. Like you have to physically like kick them, which just takes a lot of time. I mean, you could shoot them, but like there's that.
Who else do you get? You get Ada, right?
You get Ada, and then with the new update, you get Ada and Wesker, of course.
Right.
With Ada, you also get like a second version of her, which is like in the floral dress from like the original Separate Ways.
I saw that.
And
really nice.
And that it has different weapons and stuff. And then you also get like the Pinstripe Leon, which comes with like the Chicago typewriter and a shotgun. Like if you get I think if you get like an S, at least an S rank with either all characters or just Leon on like each and every stage, you unlock Pinstripe Leon.
Does he do the pose?
Yeah.
I don't think he does. I haven't tried it because it's a complete. It takes so much time.
0 out of 10.
Like you can't cancel out
Zero
the animation.
Right.
But
do the pose, Leon. It's
tried.
like that meme with Bart in the classroom. Do the pose, Leon. Do the pose.
Mercenary sucks.
I got hit so many times trying to go for like my S plus runs where it's like I'd be mashing square when my thing was already reloaded, so like he'd do the fucking hat flip animation, I'd just get slaughtered by everyone coming towards me.
I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna look stylish.
That's it.
You guys any more to say about the DLC?
I think
Not really.
I do want to just quickly highlight the fact that I think I really like how they did the charms in this game, because in the base game like for my first playthrough,
you can buy the striker charm. It's so fucking awesome for speedrunners that you can, because you can't do that in the main game. This is where I got my speedrunning high horse, but you can't do that in the main game. You have to randomly get it out of a fucking like token system that I never invested in, so that always hurt my speedruns, and it was infuriating because I knew if I put in enough effort, I'd be able to get the striker thing, which, by the way, people don't know, makes you 8% faster. So literally, like, your whole game changes in terms of like movement. Anyway, sorry.
No, but like I like how in it, like, because in the main game it's like the charms were like, they were like, most of them were just like, oh, you get slightly higher chance of like getting more more ammunition and resources when you craft an item, or like I think like you get more money if you sell this kind of item, or like protects you, like gives you like this much more damage buffs or something like that. But in this game, like they actually give you proper abilities. Like if you get the Ada charm, you can grapple down the shields from like shielded enemies.
Yes, that's right.
I use that one a lot. That was very helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like I feel like if they bring that system back into RE5 or even Code Veronica, keep going with that. Like let us give the charms actual ability. Like at least give us the ability to like actually customize our builds and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Although-
because like I mean like I think in RE6 they like had in Revelations they had like a similar system where you had like perk points and stuff.
Yeah.
That like acted similar to the charms. Like just do that again.
My thing though is Code Veronica is not an action game. I would want Code Veronica to play more like Resident Evil 2 remake. I don't want another action.
Yeah.
Heavy.
I mean,
Oh, man, I'm gonna have to come in with vicious hot takes about how I don't like Code Veronica if that happens.
No,
well, I mean to be fair,
how
Jim's
dare you.
like,
I think it
I can't even handle RE2. Like, you're just gone. You're gone.
to be honest, I reckon if they had it where it's like
Code Veronica is a hard game.
Claire. Well, because like in the first,
First
like
and
for most of the first half of the game, you're playing as Claire. So it's like for the first half where you're playing as Claire, she only has like Jill's dodge ability, for instance, and then
could
like,
do
when
that.
you play as like
That'd be
Chris,
fine.
and then when you play as Chris, you actually have the parry ability. Like that differentiates them somehow. I feel like that'd be fine.
You could do that,
That'd
but
make sense.
you can't go full Resident Evil 4 remake doing like suplexes and kicks. And
No.
That would feel so out of
God, I
place.
wish you could.
Because Claire obviously
It'd-
is not a super secret agent. Like she's trained, but she's not. Leon's like super.
It'd
trained.
be cool,
So,
but
she's more
wouldn't-
I know this is totally tangential, but in Yakuza 0 you can do a release German suplex and it fucking rules. Okay, that's all I have to say. Or not Yakuza 0, I'm sorry, Like a Dragon. You can do a release suplex and it fucking rules. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
So
only
there's
found that out at the end of the game in the last boss fight when you're doing fisticuffs. I'm like, is that a motherfucking release German suplex? 'Cause I'm a huge wrestling nerd. I was fucking flipping out. James, go ahead.
I've never played it, the Resident Evil games. What point do you actually play as Veronica?
On that note,
And how good is she at coding, Seb? Exactly. How good would you say?
not very good because the password is Code Veronica to shut down the whole thing.
That's right.
The code
All
is
right,
for
on that note,
I hope no one struggled on that last password of the game. Like, what's the code?
damn, I really got to think about this.
Just scrolling text along the bottom, just saying it's like with the track name. It's like the code is Veronica. It's like I wonder what it is.
You're like googling it. You're on like GameFAQs.
Right.
yeah.
I gotta call the LucasArts hotline.
All right. So that's our show.
Yep. I'm afraid, audience. This is where we must go our separate ways.
Yeah.
I've been waiting on that joke
Don't make
for
me
like
walk.
2
Don't
hours.
make me walk away again. Don't make me repeat
when
that
you
gag.
walk away.
So next episode in 2 weeks. There's a lot of games. This is the month. October is the month. It's
Good
everything's
Lord.
coming
It
out.
is the month.
Now Dory won't be on the next episode, correct? Because
The 14th, I will not be on.
you will be getting married. So congratulations.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. I have life stuff. You know,
Should've-
if I could just
Could have rescheduled. Could have rescheduled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
reschedule my wedding.
Or-
Everybody. It's no big
Yeah.
Or just like do the podcast like in the honeymoon, like right after the
I
wedding.
know. I should do the podcast honestly while like the playlist is bumping. I'm like, hey, what's up, everybody?
Don't even
What's
change.
going
Don't
on?
even change. Just like.
Don't even change. I'm just in my dress. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
But so next episode we're gonna talk about Payday, Party Animals, maybe Assassin's Creed that comes out, Detective Pikachu maybe, and Forza,
Oh God.
and Lords of the Fallen.
Honestly, it works out
Forza's our
perfectly, 'cause
is
most
the
of those
main
games
one.
I will not be playing besides maybe
Yeah, I think-
Detective Pikachu.
I think the big one is Lords of the Fallen maybe, but I might be burned out with Souls games,
No.
and then Forza's the big one.
No.
Forza's the big one for sure.
Yeah.
Forza and then
That's on Game Pass,
Mirage,
though.
if anyone gets it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna wait on reviews for Assassin's Creed. It's more like how am I gonna feel at the time? Am I gonna be in the mood for it? We'll see.
Yeah,
That's my
sure.
question.
I mean, like at the very start of the year, like I put down like a pre-order on Amazon for the game because like they had it for like $30 off.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'll put it down just tentatively, and then like I saw more and more of the game. Like, yeah, this is just Assassin's Creed Valhalla again. I don't.
Yeah.
No.
I want an old school
yeah.
one, like I said, but we'll talk about that next
Same.
episode.
Yeah.
All right, you guys all have a good night. Peace. Bye, guys.
Someday,
Peace.
love will find you. Break those chains that bind you.